Call this Board of Trustees work study meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees to order at 6:02 p.m. on December 11th, 2025. For the record, board members present are Kim Brady, Eliana Garza-Rojas, Marjorie Barnes, Carolyn Benavides, Paul Gilmore, Randy Shackman, and myself, Sandra Hatfield. We constitute a quorum and make the business on behalf of the district. Our second agenda item is audience for guests. Anyone who wishes to speak needs to complete a form. And at the time of 1 o'clock p.m. at the deadline, there was no one wishing to speak, so we'll move on to item 3A, which is our Team of 8 board training. And so tonight we are going to continue our work on goals and guardrails. And I know Dr. Eldridge has been diligently at work on the guardrail progress measures. And so we have our friends from Commit here today to help guide us through that work. And so Tamara and Joey, we'll turn it over to you.
Amazing. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for inviting us back. This is one of our favorite places to be. We are going to, before Dr. Eldridge presents the fabulous work she has done on the guardrail progress measures, we're just going to help set up a little bit about kind of what you should be looking for and questions to ask and those types of things, so everybody feels really effective and supported in this conversation. And before we do that, we're going to do a connection activity, which hopefully you come to either totally enjoy or dread a little bit. So what we have here is actually a framework for expressing gratitude, which I know is going to sound a little weird, but we hope that once you try it out, it might be something you end up really liking. And so in a minute, I'm going to ask you to turn to your shoulder partner and you will deliver gratitude to them in this framework, and then they will deliver gratitude to you. And so I will model how this works. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, when you, and you will name a very specific behavior. So for instance, I would say, when y'all invited me to have the chance to support this board, I felt so lucky and grateful. And that satisfied my need for inspiration, for hope, for gratitude, and so many different things. So, thank you guys. Questions on the framework? Okay. We really encourage you to be really specific with a behavior that your partner has done for you. Does that make sense? All right. And turn to your partner, give them a gratitude, and then have your partner give you a gratitude back. And if you have a trio, you get a gratitude trio.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I didn't hear that part of the directions. I didn't know what talked to him about it. And you met with me before I ran for school board the first time. That meant a lot to me, and it helped me know what to expect.
And we really worked for all that together. I felt supported and the community efforts, working together, and that meant my togetherness.
Yes, you got to it.
All those times.
Kim and I are gonna start crying.
I know.
You're both like, everything's fine.
Will you curl my
I would say
When
Does everything for me.
call me in the past, let me know something is going on.
I finally bought one when I first came.
I thought that was
My
well,
daughter got one for her
I
birthday.
like I felt really supported. I felt like I was
It's
part
got
of
all
the
those
community,
attachments, right?
and it made me
No,
feel like
I
got it on
I
the Black Friday, so
could do it. And so I really appreciate
I've been watching that for 6 months.
Yeah, it made me feel like I was part of the team. And then Kim, when you are your sassy self.
I didn't know how long.
You were point blank, just on target, but saying what I'm thinking. It makes me feel like I don't know. It just brings joy to me. Makes me feel joy. It makes me feel like I was in the same boat. That's the only way. But also, it it's never in the balance, it's always just.
I think it's her part, but her hair is like reddish.
Like sometimes I feel like you should be serious. You're welcome.
All right, did everyone get their gratitude? Yes? Thumbs up? Cool. What was it like delivering gratitude in that way?
Wonderful.
In what way?
I think it just helped you get down to a personal level and say something nice about the person that's next to you, and
Love
how
that.
they impact your life.
Love that, love that, love that. Anybody else? You can tell me. It's weird, I never want to do that again.
I think it helps you understand maybe something you didn't know that meant something to somebody else. To help
That's-
encourage that to happen more even.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about this framework is number one, like when somebody says, hey, that was great. Well, what was great, right? Because I would like to know exactly what it was that I did, and then getting the opportunity to know how that made somebody else feels really fulfilling to me. So we're going to move on in a second, but I know that Joey wanted to deliver some gratitude to the board,
I really did.
and Dr. E as well.
When you all gave me a hug, smiled at me, or shook my hand today, I felt appreciated. And that met my need for connection.
Cool. All right, so today, this is probably not coming as a surprise, we're going to review the guardrail progress measures, and as always, we're going to continue together to build a culture of shared ownership and accountability. All right, so, quick question. Why do school systems exist?
For kids.
For kids? For what for kids? To do what for kids?
Educate.
To educate? In what way? Poorly? Mediocrely?
To the best of our ability.
To the best of your ability? Anybody else?
To help them find their passions.
Love that. Yeah, to help them find their passions. Marguerite's got her notes on it.
Yeah.
Trust the process. Sorry.
Has it changed over the last 4 times we met?
No.
No,
This is actually just to
I'm gonna
gauge how much
consult
you
with
trust
Marjorie's
us.
notes in the second.
Yeah, the day that you stop being suspicious that we're trying to trick you, that Joe and I will know that we finally earned your trust. School systems exist for one reason and one reason only, right? Which is to improve student outcomes. And what we also know is student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change. Which adults are we talking about? I'm sorry,
Us.
President Hatfield?
Us
Yes.
administrators.
Us, absolutely. And so what we want to just introduce this conversation today is with this quote in mind, and would love if you all would read this to yourself and tell you what comes up for you after reading this.
That sometimes we have to make hard choices,
Yeah,
no matter what the noise may be,
absolutely.
to better our district. And that has to be done.
I think going through this training may cause some discomfort, just because we're not used to it. Because it's honesty,
Yeah,
continuous effort, and we're trying to do new things to make change.
love that.
But we don't always know what that outcome is going to look like, because
Mhm.
it's not something that we've been doing. And so that's what can make it really hard is, but also doing the same thing over and over again isn't going to help. So,
Yeah, it requires some trust, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm going to put a bunch of effort
trusting the
into
process.
this. Yeah, I'm not sure where this is going to go or if it's going to get me the outcome that I want, but I'm willing to try something new in service of our goals, which in this case, in this room, is our kids. Anybody else?
I guess to practice new behaviors, I think there's beginning to be a culture of accountability around new behaviors, even between the board of I know we've batted around the idea of 3 by 3 by 3, don't call Wendy unless you have 3 people, 3 different locations, 3 different times. Because you probably didn't need to know about the one thing that was the one thing, not 9 things, or I guess that would be 27 things. And so just like that some of that discomfort also comes in talking to each other and saying like, hey, remember, we said that we weren't gonna call her every single time we see one thing. So looking for those themes and like holding each other accountable to that.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up for all of the reasons, including what you just talked about was, yes, instituting a new behavior, right? But it also required you to give something up. And I think a lot of times when we talk about making change, it's not just do a bunch of new stuff. It is letting go of things that are comfortable, that maybe we think make us effective or are contributing to goals. And that, a lot of times for me, is the harder part of making change. And so we want to commend everybody in this room, right? Because you have done a lot of work on the technical side to put systems and structures in place to be effective, to hold each other accountable, right? And set everybody up for success. I will say, the technical part is the easy part. The hardest part of being a leader is the adaptive part. That's when you have to live into the things that are going to make the technical framework work. And a big part of that is giving up stuff. And we bring that up tonight because guardrail progress measures are one of the hardest things for boards to work through, because we all have our own ideas of what maybe honors that guardrail, the strategies, the things that like we hold really, really dear. And we hold those dear because we think they're gonna have a huge impact on the district and for our kids. And so Joey and I wanna acknowledge that, right? That like, this is a difficult conversation because it will require everybody in this room to have the courage to say, is this my personal preference, or is this thing honoring the community, and am I supporting my superintendent, our CEO, in adopting strategies that are going to help the district as a whole? And so this is how Joey's gonna take you through kind of the different things that you're looking for and why those are important. But this is how we wanted to frame this, is you are going to look at, again, an articulation of the highest leverage strategies that Dr. Eldridge and her team have said, if we honor this guardrail in this way, this will contribute to improving student outcomes. It also means that you may not see something on there that you really want or is a priority for you, and I want to say two things about that. That doesn't mean that thing is not still happening, right? If like the thing that you think is really important to you, or you've heard from a lot of community members that Dr. Eldridge is at every football game because that makes her visible, I think you're still going to be at every football game, but that may not show up here, right? So that's another thing we just want to underscore, is like, just because it doesn't make it up here does not mean those great things are still are not happening. And I think that's it. Any questions or thoughts about that actually before I move on?
As long as it's the bingo hall, because that's what happened last week. There's also the bingo hall was really important.
All right, Joey.
I know nothing about the bingo.
Yeah, he wasn't here.
You missed it!
That's
Very
right.
sorry.
He was in another time zone for that.
You have to go back and watch that.
That I don't know anything about the bingo hall. The only thing I quickly wanted to add with this is, if a particular strategy is not taking place, Tam is right. It's either not because it's not happening. Sometimes it's because maybe it's not happening, but that's also not the way they want to meet the guardrail. There's this analogy of a stop sign. There are stop sign people, and what that really implies is like, I want a stop sign here really bad because it's dangerous, cars are speeding in my neighborhood. I need a stop sign. They find out the underlying value that they want is keep safety, keep the kids safe in the neighborhood. That is the underlying value. They decide to put speed bumps instead. And it actually takes care of the issue and does honor the value that this person had. But this person still really wants their stop sign. Does this sound like somebody? Maybe me? Maybe. I know I could be like that.
That is a real life example.
This is a real life example. So all I'm saying here is like, it's not to not be a stop sign person because it's not that easy, but recognize moments where you're like, I think I'm really holding on to something, but I think the value here is actually being met. It just might not be the way that I want it, but it does fit the criteria. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So with that being said, here are some requirements, some of the non-negotiables that you want to make sure you check off as you're looking at these progress measures from your administration. The first one is, are there 1 to 3 per each guardrail? Okay? No more than 3, no less than 1. Are they specific and measurable with clear start and end points? Why do you think that's important?
So you know if you've met the goal.
Good. It helps you measure it, and you know by when it's to expect it to be done. Absolutely. Are they time bound with? Well, sorry, not that one. Can they be updated at least once per year? Why is that important?
Progress monitoring.
Good. Yes, because these only, unlike goal progress measures, these only need to be monitored once per year. So you need to make sure that at once per year you can actually get these updated, or they're updatable for you guys. Are they predictive of successfully honoring the guardrail? That one's a big one. That one is yes, I believe it is, but there's going to be some evidence provided by Dr. Eldridge and her team in order for that to, I guess, be convincing to y'all. Are they influenceable by the superintendent? This would be 80% or more, right? That they can actually control the outcomes of that specific guardrail progress measure. Cool? Awesome. You will see in some of these X and Y, and that's because this is a baseline year. Or it could be because we've never measured this in this way before, so we actually don't really know what the reasonable amount of growth for this should be. Yet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, moving on. This one is solo. It's in your section here, section 2. Yep. And it does stand alone. It's a big one. Does the superintendent's interpretation clearly reflect the community's intent and values? That is the whole point of a guardrail progress measure, right? You've set the guardrail. Now your superintendent has gone in and interpreted that through these progress measures. So, does it satisfy this? Okay, that'll be up to y'all to decide as soon as you see them. And then if the answer is no, make sure to be able to articulate what part is missing or what does not honor the intent of the actual value. Is that clear? So what it doesn't look like is, it doesn't honor it. I just don't know. I just don't know. I can't really say why it just doesn't do it. That's not helpful, right? What is helpful is that does not honor the value specifically when we said this specific thing in the guardrail, and I don't see that represented in the progress measures. That is much more helpful. Okay. So if the consensus, once again, if the majority of the board goes, yes, absolutely, we agree this does not meet the actual need of the value or the intent that we set as a board, then you can change the guardrail itself. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Dan, would you like to add anything here?
I would. And that is there is nothing wrong with doing that. In fact, that is great to get more clear, because a lot of times what we see boards do is look at the interpretation and go, you know what, we said all staff, and actually I think what we really meant was teachers, right? And so the more specificity you can provide to Dr. Eldridge, the better equipped she's going to be able to tailor her strategies. And sometimes we don't know, we weren't specific enough until we look at it and go, okay, yeah, let's get a little bit more specific.
Yeah, a big kind of indicator of that is if you go that's not what we meant, and you all agree with that, then it's probably then say what you meant.
But that is not
it's not
the board window. That is oftentimes to be expected.
All right, moving on to section 3. These are the evidence of high leverage strategies. First one is, has the administration provided evidence? Not did you like the evidence, did they provide it? Okay, or any research linking towards that guardrail progress measure being an actual impactful strategy. Was clear rationale provided indicating that these progress measures will positively impact the district's ability to achieve the student outcome goals? Once again, the relation to whether or not this is something that is in service of our goals as well. And then lastly, does this progress measure span the 5-year length, right? So 2025 to 2030. And if it's not, is it part of a multi-step strategy? Are we going to do this for a year? Because then we're laying the groundwork this year to then start measuring it in the next 4 years, right? There should be a plan like that communicated if it does not meet a 5-year span. If the answer is no to any or all of these, the superintendent can go back and provide evidence at a later date. It doesn't mean that she has to change them. It might just mean like, hey, I just like to see a little bit more as to why you're so confident that that would work, or these numbers, how you got these. Does that make sense? Awesome. Resource alignment. This is a big one. Do we have the resources to execute this strategy effectively while still prioritizing resources for our goals? This is something that you want to consider, especially as you're looking at the goal progress measures. And if there's a flag for you to go like, ooh, wait, I don't know if we've ever done that before, or we've never done it that intentionally or at scale. I have a question about whether or not we can resource that effectively. Then ask that question, right? This isn't going to be applicable for all of them, right? There's some of them where you're like, oh yeah, we're already doing that. I don't think it's going to do much to our budget, and that's fine. You don't have to ask this every time. But if there's a kind of flag that goes off for you, please make sure to ask that. Because your job eventually is to make sure that you adopt a budget, right, that is actually reflective of being able to sufficiently fund, these guardrail progress measures effectively. All right. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Any questions before we start? That like Tam or me can clarify for you before we start. Yes, Kim.
I do have one.
Trustee Brady.
So when we talk about like the goals and guardrails and things, so we're updating it every year, but we really want it to span over 5 years? In other words, if we met that goal within the year, is there not an opportunity to write another one to make it, to increase the value?
That's a great problem to have. So there's two things. When you're talking about goals and guardrails, right, the guardrail itself doesn't have a specific measure to it, right? It's not SMART. It's just the value, so that does not change. If Dr. Eldridge meets the measurable goal or target for that guardrail progress measure, Dr. Eldridge gets to go back and go, great, like we did it, like let's up the rigor, or let's make it more challenging, or let's make it more meaningful. The answer is yes. If you're exceeding that, you get the opportunity to go back there and retool that. The board, same thing, but not with the GPMs, the goal progress measures, but with the goals themselves. Look, if you meet your third grade reading goal in 2 years,
Please do that.
that's the greatest problem to have.
Yes.
You go back here in this room and you go, guys, we met a 5-year goal in 2 years. We need to up. That's an awesome problem to have. So yes, the answer is yes to both of those.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm still stuck on what she said, basically, like 5-year, like this is for, it could be more than 1 year, but it could just be one on the guardrail progress measure.
Could be.
Okay.
So do we just dump that, or do we?
I think it'll make
Okay,
sense once I explain it. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no the point of if it's a year or 2 year or 3 year or 4 year, right? No matter how long it is, that there's a evidence or a justification provided as to why that time period, and then what comes next for the rest of the years that the guardrail still needs to be honored.
So for instance, because I'm an example person, if for student experience, right, and let's pretend it's not CFB, it's another district, and they were, the superintendent was like, you know what, we don't have any data on that, we need to do a survey, like that's gonna be really high leverage, but the district doesn't have a survey currently. That board could expect to see a 1-year progress measure that says, we will design a survey, right? Because that thing has to happen before the rest of the strategy can get executed. So you will see multi-step strategies, and that is a good thing as long as your question is like, what is the end result of that strategy? Does that answer what y'all are getting at?
Maybe we need an example,
I think if she starts, if we start going to it, then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did this
Well,
example
you know
make
what? We'll be
sense?
here all night.
Yes, no,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. I just want to make sure that at least that example made sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
because sometimes you gotta build it before you know if it flies, right?
If the goal is the staff would be satisfied at 80%, and she sends out this survey that you just talked about, and the staff is satisfied at 85%. Okay, now what?
It's more of like the development of the thing, right? Hey, we're gonna do this survey, but we haven't created it. We don't have it customized for the thing that we're looking for. So we're gonna spend this year building that out and making sure that we can track 1 year of baseline. After this year, the next 4 years are gonna be measuring the actual results from the survey.
I know
That
we're
would be
asking
in
Trustee
there.
Brady. Is that is an awesome question. And the answer is like, in response to the survey, right, will that be a goal every year? Like, is that a strategy that Dr. Eldridge says for 5 years that is a high leverage strategy for our team to always make sure that the staff survey is over 85%? In which case, you're not going to see Dr. Eldridge come up with a new progress measure, because that would be like something that is important annually, not we met it this school year and then we're not going to worry about it the next
Yes,
one.
that's
That's
what
what you're
I'm
asking.
asking.
Absolutely,
Thank you for
great question.
You ready, Dr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Showtime.
Showtime.
What do you want on this screen? Anything?
I gave
Maybe
them
I'll
all
put it
copies.
on
I don't know
this.
that you have.
I'll do this.
Do you have it?
No, I don't. I just didn't know what you wanted in the
I
background.
have their folders, and you need to have your highlighter ready, because I think it makes sense to walk you through all of this. I want to thank you all. I am so grateful for both of you for all your guidance, your feedback. I got to be a student, because this is all new. Just the questions you were asking were the questions I was asking, because we don't want to make a mistake, but we also want to work on the right things. And so I think about going down the highway, and when do we put a blinker on? When do we need to pivot, and in what year, and did we accomplish that? And then if you relate it to sports, we always think about, okay, what do we need to win? Do we need the quarterback? Do we need more training? And so I think we're building a great playbook with a great team. And so I think it'll make more sense, your questions, because I have the same ones. And then I started thinking, this is multi-layered, and you said it so well, it's high leverage with multi-step strategies. And you may only have the highest level, but there's work within that. So we'll start with the first guardrail, and I should have given this to you so you could put it up. And if you want to send it to them, yeah, then we can put it up, because I think it's always good to have two visuals. This one, and you all wrote these, so I focus interpreting your language, and I want you to highlight the words, evaluate the needs. Because that's what I focused on, is we are evaluating the needs for our future. And so that's what I really focused on, thinking, what do we need in our district to show that we are maximizing and really evaluating our facilities. And if you really target evaluate for needs, that's where you have to start. You can't go to planning for a bond before you evaluate what we already have. And so I've been researching this since last year, and I'm so excited about it. And I guess my question and guidance is, we put a timeline on here, but that doesn't mean that we probably could meet the timeline before that happens, right? And so you put a target date, because I don't want to tell you wrong, but I also know I work fast sometimes, I mean, a lot of the times. And so it also depends on who is assisting you in these projects, that we could be done in 6 months sooner, no different than construction. So I wanted to make that clear, because sometimes you think, oh my God, we're not going to do that till 27. But I want to tell you that building up to it, there's a lot of things you have to put in place before you get there. And so as we think about, don't just focus on the date. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I focused on evaluating the needs, interpreting what you all said to me. And I have been working on putting together a whole comprehensive plan with our team. And so one of the things, we did a lot of research, and we came up with some great districts, called them, and said, how did you all evaluate the needs of your district? Because we have to do the research. We can't just hope we get it right. And so spent a lot of time doing that research, and we came up with the Facility Index Program. And with the Facility Index Program, that means we will use there's several different companies that we've narrowed it down to, and this is all through bond funds, to really do a comprehensive look at all of our facilities and give them a grade. So that we will have an entire handbook or manual that shows this school was built here, here's the usage of our facilities, what is the plumbing, the HVAC, the condition of the building, the capacity, the enrollment. It will all be there in one big book. And so when we start talking about schools, and when you think about multi-layered strategies, you think that's one step. Now when we think about, we come to you and say, we need HVAC, or we need technology, you can look in there and say, gosh, do we really want to invest that in a school that's 50 years old? And those will be the conversations we have after we complete the comprehensive need facility assessment. And it's very programmatic. It's not emotion. It's not me and Bobby Shaw going, well, we love this building. It's got a lot of tradition. It's here's what we're dealing with. Here's when the plumbing was installed. Here's the grade of the facility. Does it have foundation problems? And so there's some examples that I can share with you at another time, but it is a very comprehensive look at our facilities. And so that's why it's, as Tamara said, that's why it's multi-stepped, because there are layers to it. But doing all that, and we've done a lot of pre-work, by that date, we will have it complete. If not, I always say, we give a due date, but it could be sooner, but it won't be later, because that is a multi-step strategy that affects everything else. Because as we look at our facilities, and whether they're aging, or whether we want to be competitive, or where this is what we want, then that leads to the next one, which is our long-range plan. And if we don't have our facility indexed, we can't create our long-range facility plan that says, here's where we need to go when we start meeting with people to talk about what we need to do next. With, a lot of times, when I got here, you guys said, pass the lawn. Well, I didn't have time to look at anything, and so I'm just out there, we're going to win. But now we've got to really, knowing what our index is, knowing what we want as a district, and what our community tells us will lead to our plan to say, here's what we need in our next funding time. So we do it very strategic. And so I focused on evaluating the needs and then our long-term plan. So you guys can highlight those two. And is this questions?
Yeah, questions, yes, we'll do it that way.
Okay, because I think we should do it. And, take a minute to decipher, but then it's questions, it's did it meet the criteria, any other clarification, did this address your guardrail, because you all wrote these. And, did you, Paul?
Did I hear you say this is paid through bond funds, the study?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't-
The facility index program?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is
and
that
actually.
the previous bond? The previous bond? Okay.
So actually, it's earmarked. So actually, Bobby Shaw, Chris, and Corey are going to see a campus, or to visit with some people in Waco, because they've completed, I think it's Waco, but several districts. They're meeting to discuss, what went well, what didn't, and what program they used. Because there's several of them, and we've kind of narrowed it down based on what we want and how we want to evaluate our needs as a district. There's lots of, it's no different than any kind of instructional program. What do we want it to do based on our previous experience?
I think these progress measures meet it exactly as what we put out there. Meets the guardrail, to me. You've done exactly what we've asked you to do.
I think when you look at the, can it be updated at least once a year? I think of that, and I'm not sure if that's the intent of the question, but I think of it as we can be provided an update once a year.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you're gonna start that work in November of 2027. That work has already started.
It's already started,
Yeah.
and so I think too, as we develop the timeline of what campuses we're gonna do and reporting measures of, what they found. I mean, you all can, as the facility committee, that could be a presentation to the facility committee of here's where we are and here's where we're going. But every campus will be evaluated in the same measure. And, when we talk about historical evidence, we don't have any. I look and, Kim and I have cleaned out file folders, and we found things, but nothing was electronic. Some things are, some things aren't. But when somebody, comes in or somebody leaves, we already have what we've started, and it creates a systematic way for us to be able to say, here's what that campus had, here's what this campus had, and we're not wasting our community dollars adding onto a campus that we had no need to put new you know,
Carpet.
yeah, we put carpet, we upgraded the plumbing when it's how many years old. So really taking a deep dive into our facilities.
So I think it's Wolford, is that the group that did the study of all?
But that was the capacity study.
Okay.
They didn't do,
I thought
they
it took
don't,
age of buildings and stuff like that.
they do, but the facility index grades it on a different level.
Okay.
It is more in-depth than what Woodward or what our demographer did. So you have these different programs. This is very computerized.
I'm just thinking it gives us more than just one company saying,
Correct, yes.
this is it, and so,
And the way it's laid out, I've looked at several of them, and the way they're laid out, it is a continuation. So it's a picture of the school, and then it'll say the year it was built, how many students are there now, the cost of what that building is costing us, and then everything else. Plumbing,
so
technology.
for a portion of it, we do have some data.
We do have some of that, but not as probably
Right.
in-depth over the facility
Right.
part of it.
The infrastructure piece
Yes.
is the part.
Yes.
that-
The
It's
infrastructure.
building evidence for it.
Yeah, yeah, and, you know, it gives us another comparable measure for, you know, whether, you know, also to compare it to what Woodward discovered. You know, because now if you think about the last board meeting and how much Corey informed us of what, you know, the upgrades at campuses, that's what we have to document as well. That's historical evidence, in my opinion. Like, we have to make sure that what we're doing is not just with Corey, it's in a system that if I leave or you guys decide to leave or something happens, we have that, so we're not always, then we can tell our community, here you go, we did that in this year, and we have it, and it'll be, you know, Karen and I have already met about, you know, what is that gonna look like on the website, so that it's not just, you know, here's the manual, like, how do we keep it upgraded, and picture evidence.
Do you envision it because we have live projects that are ongoing right now, do you envision it being like a living document?
Yes. Yes, yeah.
So it's something that you can consistently update and see, analyze, and that's great.
Yeah, and then we're talking all from the same level of documentation, and, you know, it does get emotional, we know that, but it's also, what are the smartest decisions we can make based on what funding we have, how many students we have, and what that building offers.
It'll also make the messaging
Consistent.
easier to the community.
Yeah,
And then ultimately, that takes us to the student outcome goals, which will allow us to design or ensure we did, or I guess I should ask, how will,
Yes.
look, I knew she was gonna hit me. How will having this comprehensive facility assessment allow us to support student outcome goals?
well, great question. Well, when you think about buildings, what do we want the programs to be? How does that support that? You know, location. There's so many studies on, well, I'll give you one example, the utilities. You know, we all wanted to know about the utilities. Well, if our buildings are aging out, they're not LEED buildings. Our windows are how old? Those are some of the things that will be in this facility index. And we can say, this building is costing us this much, but it's also not providing light, which helps students, you know. The environment is a total, I mean, it helps with student outcomes. There's studies on students that go to a school that looks like poverty-based. That's what they think that they're a part of. We're not providing the latest and greatest student experience for them. That's how I feel. I mean, I've read so many studies of, you know, when we put kids in a building and they're not able to even access the technology, and then they don't have, you know, you think about our special ed rooms that we're upgrading, the sensory rooms. Some of our campuses, we don't even have a room to do it. We don't have the right wall, we don't have, you know, it would cost us more to do that than to say, move that over here. So I always think it's focused on students. You know, what you know, if you look at the playground across the street, the special ed teachers created their own playground indoors, because the special ed teachers are their classrooms right by where the crossing guard is. And so they go out and there's just there's nothing out there for them. And so I brag on those teachers all the time because they've created their own indoor playground. That's not helping but every student deserves an opportunity to go outside and experience a better environment. So,
Additional questions about this one?
Good job.
and as soon as we get the program, that we'll bring that to you all of which one and why we picked it. So there is updates. It's not just these are here and but I think it gives us a structure to focus on what we need to focus on. And then our board meetings are focused on the updates or the end of the year understanding of what we actually did.
Now, and maybe this is a question to you. Can we include this in board meetings, like an update of this is how we're coming to, or is that not the place?
So that's kind of where we're headed with the guardrail progress measures
Right.
is.
So that the citizens can see that we're.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a monitoring calendar. The monitoring calendar is not just for the goals, but it's also for the guardrails. And so once we adopt these will help guide, like this is gonna impact the budget because a facilities assessment is gonna cost money, and so that's gonna tie into the 26-27 budget. And then, so we're gonna be showing evidence of how we're spending our money to say, but we said we wanted this because it was a guardrail and a guardrail progress measure. So, and then Dr. Eldridge is developing a calendar, and the board meetings will now have a specific, at least one goal or guardrail that they're updating us on. And it may be in board meetings, it may be in work studies, it depends on the measure because of specifically the student achievement ones may have to be in a work study because they need to be timely for administration.
And we will also provide, after the progress measure conversation, we'll give y'all kind of an overview of what that monitoring process is gonna look like, so you'll know exactly kind of what your role is in that, what the community is gonna see, and those types of things.
Well, and to your point, Paul, it was kind of exciting because we have already, we work on the agenda the day after the board meeting ends. And so we actually, we're in a meeting and Kim goes, oh, we gotta add the update monitoring of pre-K. And so it's really gonna drive our meetings more than we're just having presentations, we're giving updates on what we've really targeted to be the most important things that we need to do.
The idea is that it's all married together. It's all interwoven, it's all like, this is why we're doing this, why we're doing this, why we're doing this. Like all that full circle.
Multi-step strategies. I love it. I mean, I think that it was so easy not easy, but it was easier to align the board agenda to things, and we're not just, what do you want to see a presentation on?
Yeah.
So it really, and then it's easier to communicate.
Well, Trustee Brady said the magic word, which is alignment.
Alignment.
Right? The more all of your activities are aligned, right, the better resource your highest level goals are gonna be, and the outcomes should be improving.
Well, and the feedback from our last meeting, because we were very succinct with what we were talking about with the academics and construction and it was so positive. Because one, when staff doesn't have to stay till midnight, but we're also focused on the same things, everybody felt good. I felt like the temperature was really good, so.
Sure.
Okay. So the next one, couple things. All students, so you can circle all. I think you need to circle that, not highlight it. And the key words are valued and supported. And what was interesting about this guardrail was, trying to interpret, what value means. Does value, is that social emotional value? Is it value of school? Is it value of their friends, their teacher? So this is my interpretation. So if you guys meant something else, you're gonna have to help me, because we gave a survey to all of our students in our district a month ago. And so, which was so timely to help me gather what we were gonna talk about. So through that panorama survey, it asks a lot of questions: how they feel about their teacher, how they feel about school, how they feel about themselves, how they feel about learning. And so from that data, which was every student took it, this is what came out of that. So in our middle school grades, they did not feel, I mean, out of all the grades, our grades 6 through 8, it was the lowest percentile of their feeling of sense of belonging. And so with that, I looked at the questions, and the kids put that they understood what sense of belonging meant. Now, however, how do we show that you belong or that you have a sense of belonging? And so I asked a few people, and they were like, I have no idea. So what is the evidence that shows that you all feel a sense of belonging amongst yourselves? We don't know. And so my goal for that was that I'm going to create a task force to dive deep into that data and say, what do we need to ask, what do we need to collect, and what do we need to implement so that when we give the survey next year, you feel like you belong. Because if they're feeling a sense of belonging in middle school, that's going to transfer to high school. And so I can't just guess, because I looked at the questions. Some of them are very open-ended, but so were the other questions, because they feel like they have good teacher relations, they value school. So what is the sense of belonging in 6th through 8th grade? It was overwhelming for me. High school, the percent was double.
Do you think there's an opportunity for growth in middle school as well? Like this is an academic, also viewing it, student outcome increase?
So yes, because if you don't feel a sense of belonging, does that help your performance? If you walked in this room and you said, I don't know where to sit, nobody cares about me, I don't belong, you're probably going to have, because our students, if you think about it, in 6th through 8th grade, haven't been in the world very long. So do they know how to cure their own anxiety when they're having, oh my gosh, I don't belong here? They can't perform. Because how many of you have been uncomfortable walking in a situation? I don't think Paul ever has that, because he was dancing at a football game. But think about your wife. She walks in with a book because she has a comfort of what she's going to do no matter what situation. But our kids don't know that. They don't know.
I think that's ironic that it's 6 through 8, because that'll affect them for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
So by doing what you're saying,
Yeah.
we really can feel like we're making a difference in their lives. Because if we figure out what value is to them, like me, if I walk in and you smile at me, I'm going to feel accepted. But that's 55 years of learning how people are. It's not a 6th through 8th grader. But what is a 6th through 8th grader?
So we have the SEL programs. Are they not addressing the sense of belonging, or are we not teaching it? Are we not using the same language? I don't know. But that's
maybe it's
one.
Sports, maybe it's whatever, connections to the things that drive them.
You think about middle school, it's their first opportunity. Okay, I didn't make cheerleader. I got knocked out of the play. It's their first times where they have to try out for things.
What would a task force look like? When you say task force, like who's
So
that made
it's
up of?
teachers, it's probably administrators, students.
So internal.
That's what I was
Internal.
curious.
Internal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would that be a task force coming from you? Would that be a task force for each school?
It would probably be representation, but there's always, I have a meeting scheduled with Kim, who is going to bring Vicki in, Cisneros. And if you think about it, they're all new. Vicki Cisneros is new. She doesn't know what the programs that we put into place, what they do. Not that they're good or bad, but did they address this issue? So she'll be a big part of it. Probably counselors.
You have kids
Yeah.
on that task
Yeah.
force?
Yes.
And so,
students.
oh yeah, students. And it will probably be define what is sense of belonging. And then I anticipate that we ask the kids again. Because again, the questions are pretty broad. So maybe there is a sense of belonging, they just think they're left out. Because I think that's also when social media is coming into play, so that, oh my gosh, I didn't get invited, because even though they can't have it in school, they still look at it at home. And so I don't know what the outcome will be, but I think it's worth studying, because it doesn't make me feel good when that is a low percent, because that affects everything.
When you say you don't know what the outcome will be, you mean what the results?
What the results, yes, thank you. The results of what they really need to, you know, I could,
Well, if it's something that you can even, that a district could even like solve or address, or, I mean, we are talking about middle schoolers, which I have a lot of. Marjorie and I.
you guys can start at home. What would it mean? What does it mean to you? Because they took the test.
Yeah.
It changes on the daily. Like, you don't know that tomorrow they could feel love and it changes so often.
I mean, but I do think it's great to look at it and everything, but I also, you know, think it can be an evolving thing, and it could, you know, a sense of belonging, especially taking a 6th to an 8th grader, a sense of belonging, I would imagine in grade 6, there's a lot less than it is in grade 8.
Actually, it was higher.
Really? They felt more? That is interesting.
It's
I'm
probably
curious to
because
know where this, what happens.
It's probably because everything changes by the time they get to 8th grade. You're not the same
I think
person
they're
at 6th
excited
grade.
because they get to change classes.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. You guys have middle schoolers. You know, do you see a change?
My kids felt more
But-
lost in 7th grade than anything else.
So-
So I don't know if that was the
7th grade was
lowest one.
pretty high,
But I think 8th grade is where they start
Realizing you're
getting
adults.
into, they make group, like they find a place in the school too, because there's so many, I think there might be more programming opportunities by the time you get to 8th grade. And so they find their niche, maybe. But that's what the task
And
force is gonna find out.
Academically,
Here we are trying to solve
You're solving it. You're solving it.
We are
Then,
Randy,
Randy, bring it. I was just pointing at you. Bring it back together. Like, what are your thoughts?
The first thing is that, I hate to sound old, but unfortunately, the reality is a lot of this was at the heart of what we were trying to implement in a church youth group years ago. And the book, Caught in the Middle, was invaluable at being able to go, maybe this got some things to say, and I'm wondering if maybe it has some things to say to us today.
Well, the anxious generation, if you've read that, it talks a lot about, you know, the anxiety. I mean, I think we were reading it at the same time.
we were.
Yeah, and so, but I think it's important if you compare it to some of our academic performance in middle school.
Yeah.
Well, and the whole change from that nucleus and warmth of elementary school and then boom, middle school, and their hormones, their growth, and a sense of belonging. You know, what am I doing here?
Yeah. And what is the definition and what can we do to improve that? To help improve students in their achievement.
Okay, does 2.1 meet the guardrail?
Absolutely.
All right, 2.2.
Okay, so the other one, which was extremely interesting, in most of the grades, and we have given this information to the principals, that students did not feel like the engagement and that the curriculum was, the teaching was rigorous enough. And so I think that we set, I know, Bob's looking at me like, what student would write that? What student would say that? But in 6th grade, okay, when we give them a Chromebook and that's all we do, the level of engagement, that is not engagement. And so also the rigorous learning, that they want higher expectations and more rigorous learning, that was across most of the levels of grades.
So what does it mean when it says analyze student voice data from at least 100% of campuses?
Well, I think that's asking all the principals to get a group and say, what do our students want to see? Because that was evident, that was a high percent of students at every campus, at every single campus said they wanted more rigorous learning and they wanted more engagement. And so what does that mean? Does that mean you want more talking? You know, do you want to be heard? Do you want to have an experience? Do you want me to tell you you are learning 8th grade work, but you're only in 6th grade and we're going to get there? I mean, it's interesting. I've never seen that before. So I find that, you know, with computers, everybody just assumes that that's engaging, but to some students, when are they building stuff? When are they learning? Even with all the programs we have, So that was another one that was like, we gotta study that, and we gotta, because do you not think if we raise the expectations, our students will meet it, because they're asking us to do it, which increases our student achievement, which is also giving us an A grade.
What was the percentage of that we're asking? Do you know that? Am I asking?
What do you mean?
Like the percentage of students that were asking for that,
It was-
they didn't think it was rigorous enough, that they wanted more engagement?
It was higher than 40%.
Wow.
So hands-on learning.
And it was shocking to a lot of us, because we always think, you know, when you walk in a classroom and you see the computers out, and you go, oh my gosh, they are like this smart class. But what are they doing? And we, you know, it was interesting because we did instructional walks at Creekview, and the teacher did not have, and I think I told you this, Trustee Brady, because that teacher has been there.
Oh, gosh.
She did not have, they did not have their Chromebooks out. They were doing it pencil paper, their math problems, and then they had to explain it back to her, and she was, and so, but we think, oh, she's not using technology, but there's kind of a twofold.
So it sounds like you have questions about
I do.
engagement and rigorous learning and the connection to technology.
Or is it that we're not setting them? I want, just like what we're doing, do we do that at our campuses?
When you say the district will collect and analyze, do you anticipate that the
Our
district
team.
is going to provide a framework for principals to use, or principals
Yeah,
are
so
gonna-
I'll get together with, Chris, Julian, Kim, and I, we'll probably create a baseline of a framework to help them. I mean, I vision it like a toolkit, because if I have everybody creating something, we're not gonna get what we want. So we have to really say, we need you to do this at your campus with these kids, so we find out what that means. Is it setting expectations? Because as we do instructional walks, you know, we've learned that our curriculum is high level, and we've also implemented different strategies, you know, anchor chart, all these things. Is it filtering down? Or is it just that we want you to have those posters are up, great, you did that, and now did you explain it? Did you say, Randy, we know you're quiet most of the time, but we really need you to speak up. We need you to engage, so they start hearing the vocabulary. We need you to be engaged today. So sometimes if kids don't hear that word, they may say, I'm not engaged. But I do think a lot of our kids in secondary understand it and want more engagement, which is exciting, I think. So, and we'll create some baseline indicators so we can measure that. Like, are we being more methodical with our curriculum of how rigorous it is? Because we're teaching this, could we implement some other things to make it a high
And
level?
I'm sure most teachers are not gonna shy away from, oh, I really get to teach more, or harder stuff to push the student.
Well, it's also,
It's
to
not
me,
harder,
It's
sometimes
not
it's-
harder, it's
Right.
more interactive.
it's the
well, and
interaction.
sometimes, you know, we give you a technology device, but it can become a worksheet electronically. And so what do we, it's not saying the device is not right, it's what can we do with the device, like giving you the authority to create or do other things with it, you know? I just got technology to put Creative Cloud on mine, and because I want to learn how to do more creative programming. And so just giving opportunities to do other than just we're doing our assignment and we're hitting send.
Right.
And I don't know.
I would love to see the analyzation of kids' grades and GPAs as it relates to this. Are these the kids that are failing? That want
That's
more
a good,
engagement?
that's good.
Or are these the kids that are making A's that that's what they do?
You mean the kids that said this?
Said this or that react to this, that want more engagement? Are they the kids that are failing? Because we have a lot of those too. Like, so I run like, okay, you want more rigor, but we have a good nest egg of kids that aren't probably living up to their potential either.
So are you saying?
Yes.
I just want to see
yes,
that,
yeah.
the
Would
data
like to see
comparison.
Wouldn't
the
we
progress
raise both,
measure
though?
be more specific about what students? What group?
I would like to see if we somehow can,
I see what you're saying. So when we create what we
Zen-
want to see, we would say we could target kids that maybe have high attendance rates, maybe don't make, they're C students.
Right.
So we could definitely do it by categories.
Slices
Yes.
of each, yeah.
And to her point, I think
Categories.
she's saying,
Which you
use the
probably are.
were the students that said that in a specific category, because is that the category you need to target for
Well,
them?
if you think about overall, it's a pretty high
It's a
percent.
big, that's what I'm saying.
But I will break, but this is a multi-step strategy that I will
Oh, yeah,
analyze
it's just one of
with the
things that-
layers, but
Like
the
the
categories,
grades
the
and
campus.
When I
Align.
heard, what I heard in
Yeah.
that, and that's a really strong question,
love that.
Trustee Brady, because what I heard was, what is the correlation between levels of engagement and student
Yeah.
outcomes?
Does it matter? Does it matter?
Well, according to research, we have to address all types of learning. So some kids that do it, they feel like they've learned it. Are you visual? Are you auditory? Do you need to experience it? And so I think that goes back to learning modalities. Are we addressing how all kids learn?
Yeah,
I mean, your Scotty's gonna learn no matter what, right?
right.
But some kids need more, what is that? And what is the correlation of it?
Yeah, and.
Some kids are just obedient and they're gonna do what you tell them to do, but did we miss an opportunity? So I think about mock trial. Those kids are doing it, experiencing, they're engaged in it. That's not something they're learning by writing more law briefs and studying theory. They're doing it, they're going, they're experiencing it. So what is the correlation between different programs and how they perform? I mean, that will be good to analyze.
That's what I'm wondering.
But I will go,
That's
I will
right.
look at all that.
Then you could talk about the whole grading thing, but that's a
Yeah.
whole different discussion. It's just,
but if it's
Are
our
those-
kids
are those
that are
things
not
correlated?
performing and we get them there, and it's our kids that are just obedient and we take them to another level, we are really increasing student achievement on all levels, as the word says, all. So
I just.
Is it all
interested.
I'll think about,
Additional questions on this one?
It's like, we did say all students. Do we have the money for it? I was like, do we have the resources to execute this
I don't
strategy?
think analyzing and asking student voice is a cost. It's a time. But
That's fair.
I'm not asking to buy a program. I think it's maybe down the line if we need to do more training or we need to, but again, we don't know what the results are for now. But it's a priority. I think our teachers are always our priority. We always train them. Are we training them on the right things? Do we need to spend more time on engagement for their growing greatness program that we have?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But to Eliana's point, this is by May 2026, so you'll have the results.
Yes.
Before we adopt the 26-27 budget, so there could be implications.
From what?
But
We'll see, we'll see.
we'll see. Okay?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any feedback on how we're
Yeah,
going through the process
Navigating it.
before we keep going?
Joey,
Um,
I don't like his face.
you know my face?
He's processing.
She said right now.
Right now.
Sorry, moment.
Your face is
No,
happy.
you mentioned the May 26th and then August 26th. So just thinking about that, there's how many years after that? 4 more years? So I just haven't heard any questions about that.
Like a long term?
To me, like, these are what we were talking about before, like, this is the start to the next.
Right, this is just
Or the baby step
and
before the
then we'll,
next.
based off of the information she comes back, then we set another, or
The
she sets
guardrail
another
doesn't
measure.
change, but the measure will change.
Yeah, so
Right.
she would set another measure based off of what she collects with all this.
Like, we don't need that, we need to do this. Or it could be that they didn't understand what the term was. I don't know. But I do think there's always a correlation of something, especially if you deep dive into it.
So like in May of 2026, when you present this progress on this, at that point you may come back and say, so now that we collected and analyzed this data, I would recommend replacing 2.2 with X.
Yes,
Is that kind of what you're envisioning?
that's what I was thinking.
Is that-
Because this
That would
would
fall in the definition of a multi-step.
step strategy. we have to establish the findings, and then we say, oh my gosh, we are gonna hit all kids by doing da-da-da. And it may not cost anything, maybe just switching how we train teachers or word choice that we use, I don't know. But I think it's worth looking into. I think it's worth measuring.
Looking over.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth
I feel about my face.
That's
right now.
a better face.
I really appreciate the strategy conversation that y'all are having right now, and I appreciate the effort that I hear all of you making to put your statements in the form of question. Keep doing great.
That's better.
There we go.
Yeah,
I think it's just process.
What I'm trying to get
Just
at,
bad, it makes me feel.
and what I'm trying to get at is a lot of conversation about strategy, which is great, and that is ultimately Eldridge and her team's job. Our job as a board is the result of those strategies. So always thinking about not like what the next strategy all the way down the line is going to look like, but ultimately how do we know that all those things worked?
But I do like the thoughts of, have you thought, I thought that was, you know, I love to think of what are we not thinking of, what else do we need to think about that our students, so correlations to me, I think that's just another layer of thinking, not telling me what to do.
And the student outcomes to me, I mean, that's part of the student outcomes is the grades that they receive versus GPAs, and I'm just wondering.
And I think we have so many great, phenomenal teachers, they want to do well, and we just have to help support them to get there. And, you know, if you're sitting in a teacher training and you're going, this has nothing to do, then we need to, that's what we need to constantly multi-step to think about. Are we serving our teachers the best way to get the results that we want for our students?
And then for us as a board, we have to hold each other accountable to when they come back in May or June, whenever this presentation is, to then say, okay, wait, this was one of our progress measures, so now what? And we ask that question, so now what? And then we have to be willing to go and change things and know that it's kind of a living document versus we did this and then we checked that box and now we wait. It can grow, it can change over time.
And that, I love that you brought that up, President Hatfield, because that is what monitoring is. It is a strategy conversation on a monthly basis to ensure that we know what is working and that it is improving student outcomes, even when we're talking about guardrails.
But then, I think the other thing that's so beneficial to this is that in your mind, you have a timeline, so you're not wondering, okay, Dr. Eldridge, you said, and we haven't got an update, and now they're all listed.
Yes.
I think what I'm excited about is that a lot of this is coming based off of students and their voice, and you're taking these and because I think we could sit around, all of us adults could sit around and say, well, this is what's going to make students feel valued or supported, and I like that. I love that you're implementing their voice and what you've seen from what they're saying and are trying to delve into that and move forward because they know we don't know, and I just really like that.
You know, and I think we give these surveys, check, but do we ever really analyze it and go back and say, what can we do to help you feel better, feel valued and supported? I think it's the same for our teachers. We have to support them to help them get our students there. So I think what was exciting to me is one of the highest ratings was that they feel safe at school. And I think that speaks volumes to our security department because when I visit campuses, they are so engaged with our students and they feel safe, and so that makes me feel good. And I think the more that we focus on safety and monitor it from our findings, you know, we talk about those. I want to get 100, but sometimes that can be a mechanical error or a human error that just, oh God, I should have pulled that, you know. So I always want to hit 100, but you know, realistically, can we? We'll keep trying. But I do feel, and that was something the board put lots of money in, is our security. And I think we're seeing that. Even at the high schools, they talk to the kids, they feel, you know, they tell them what they do, and they're always walking around. And so I think that's, from the survey, I think that was a powerful message, that we've done the right thing, helping our kids feel safe, because that's part of learning. If they don't feel safe or they think somebody's gonna come in. I mean, I feel safe every time Jamal's by me. I'm talking about security, because he talks to the kids, and they also help each other with the training and what can they do for kids to educate them. So,
Questions? Comments? Anything to put a bow on guardrail 2? Any feedback, modifications? All
Get
right.
it all done by
I'm gonna get it all done.
first of the year.
Well, I think it's exciting. I think moving to this process is hard. I think, what did you guys start off with that, I wrote it down, where is it? I wrote down that effective leadership is discomfort, honesty, and courage. I have felt so much discomfort in the last 2 weeks working on this, that's effective leadership. I mean, you know, I finished this book called The Comfortable Crisis, and it's how comfortable we've gotten in our homes with our AC and everything's working. But this has been very uncomfortable for me because I am good up here, but having to put it on paper, it takes courage and honesty and working with great partners. And so it hasn't been easy, but none of this process has. But I think about now looking, even though I look at it, now we're going to do something about it. We can't just go do all these things and, you know, I'm walking through the school and I'm not like, oh my gosh, like, are we, you know, I think about that progress measure once we figure out what it means to have a sense of belonging, then that's something we can all check on. Do you feel like you belong today, Leona? I mean, just using the terminology and making sure that we see evidence, even if it's our own anecdotal evidence. So that's, I guess you have to be uncomfortable to get comfortable, because this has been a struggle. I even asked Tamara today if she needed a red pen, because she was, you know, asking me questions. And I was like, do you need, because we're so ingrained from critiquing from our English teachers or whatever, but it wasn't like that. It was really a team effort. So I just had to say, this has been uncomfortable to get comfortable. So this one, I focused on visible and actively engaged. I love our community. I love our campuses. It's been so great to get to know our leadership. I had 2 principals meeting with me today, and it couldn't have been more comfortable. They walk in, and it's not uncomfortable. It's because of relationships. And so I think that's because you have to make an effort to see your people, not just, I read a sentence, don't be the superintendent that just focuses on operations, meetings, and task. You know, make sure that you're actively engaged. And I think that's true. I always say that's where we find out where the work is happening. Check on the work. And so with Leadership and Learning, which is Kim Holcomb's group, it's something that we have just started designing, that we are doing instructional walks instead of just showing up with, now I do think there's positive intent when we just show up at a school, but really being intentional about designing our campus walks to observe that what you all have invested in, our high quality curriculum, our teacher training, and our principals, are they doing what we want to happen for our student achievement? And it's been great. So we take the entire all the department leaders, science, math, you know, reading, social studies, everybody goes, and we divide up, and we have the same walkthrough form, and we go in classrooms, and we, you know, the teachers are excited. You know, there's a few that are nervous, but we go in there and we just observe what they're doing, and then at the end, we go into the library and we talk about glows and grows, and talking about, oh my gosh, this teacher, blah, blah, and the principal's in there taking notes so that they can be, we're actively giving them learning experiences that they're we're not just sitting in meetings talking about what good instruction looks like, we're actually implementing it at a different level and helping them see what we see. And I think that sometimes we tell principals, or we say, we're gonna go do 10 instructional walks, but we don't ever talk about what we saw. And so now we're really sitting down with every department. Is everybody teaching the way we feel like kids are learning? And could we, if you think about multi-step strategy, once we figure out the value, the belonging, and that can easily fold into what we can implement in our instructional walks as well. So it's a great tool that we are going, and I'm just looking up there going, I didn't put like annually.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
I know,
How
you,
often?
like, I think
It's okay, that's why
yeah,
we're growing.
so, yeah,
Maybe
so,
put it here.
Can I
yeah,
ask one question to
Yes.
prompt you, because I have some insider?
okay.
Can you also talk a little bit about how this has informed the operations and strategies of central office?
So this isn't just about teachers, this is about checking on, I always say check on the work. So it's formed into more than that. Like if I'm participating, I may go in a classroom, but I also may go in the office and ask, how are things going? And they don't mind telling me. And so from those visits, the secretaries wanted, last year we did secretary training. They said, are we gonna do that again? We learned so much. So they will tell me what, from each campus will tell me something. Our bus drivers. One of the things, there was a bus out there and I got on and I realized, I asked this bus driver, and he goes, well, this isn't my route. We lost this driver because we lost him to another school district who gives them a choice whether they can be paid 9 months or 12. So it's also operational. It's not just instruction. I ask being visible. I go ask questions and they tell me. That's why we've continued to enhance our PEIMS coding. They need more training. I was at one campus and I said, I know you're here for instructional walks, but could you get us some training? We just have this notebook with all these tabs and I'm new. So there isn't just, we're focused on instruction, but I'm also focused on action steps and what else, situational awareness. Like we want great student outcomes, but we also want a great place to work where we listen to you. So thank you for prompting me. So you guys can ask me any other questions. I know that probably needs to have some dates, so
Dates.
fix that.
But this, to me, that one very much seems like it's all about this campus. And I know what you just said, and I heard that, but I don't see that on there.
So I can,
3-1. So can we add some things or change the vocabulary?
well,
in there
so
somewhere?
I guess for me, I said deliver 3 action steps and connections with the campus, but you want it more defined?
Well, if it's gonna be campus, or you just talked about like administrative staff, so is that also like at the admin building? Is
So
that
I bring
also
it back. If they weren't there
custodial?
with me, those are my Tuesday meetings that I say, okay, I was at these campuses and here's what I learned. And it may not be at these campuses, it may just be because I'm out visiting.
So when you say deliver 3 action steps, is that deliver to your SLT team? Is that delivered to the campus?
It's
to the
usually
principal?
SLT so that we can fix it, but I see what you're saying.
Trying to think about how, if we were monitoring that,
Okay.
because while like campus walks and the work that's happening there is extremely valuable, but how will that be influenceable by you so that we can also monitor?
What are you hoping to monitor? When you said
Well-
what we can monitor, what do you?
I guess I'm wondering, like, if they were to present, 3.1, what would we be seeing? What's the evidence that we would see that is cultivating an exceptional learning community?
So like a
It's not that I don't think.
what
we-
would be in the presentation?
Okay, so I did write it a different way, 2 different ways. So tell me if you like this one better. I wrote, the superintendent will measure and track campus needs and support for teachers, staff, and students by conducting purposeful visits at all campuses each year. So you want more where it's not so focused just on leadership and learning.
I don't know.
Okay.
What do y'all,
I like that better. To me, that's much
Yes.
more clear about what you're doing,
Okay.
or what we're supposed to be looking for.
And then if in multi-step, if it's instructional, it's this, it's,
I think it's really powerful that you talked about that, like, cultivating this belief that we're an exceptional learning community. Yes, instruction, because that's critically important, but if the people aren't feeling valued in the workplace or feeling like they have the tools to be able to accomplish goals and they're not retained, like you talked about multiple things that are being tied to retention, so I think it's interesting that you're like in collaboration with leadership and learning, but you're talking about you as the superintendent are going to do some other specific things besides just looking at
it was
the
very
classroom.
hard to write. This was very uncomfortable, so help.
I think what you have there is more clear.
Can I clarify? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm stuck on the quantifying. Participate is very vague, because this guy might have been known to show up for 5 minutes, and that's participating. So maybe it's will lead, or how many are you going to do of that
Okay.
to have a good broad,
Like how often?
Yeah.
I
That's
just
what
think
I-
it needs to be
my question.
quantified.
That's why I think the one you wrote over here is probably a little more
Yeah.
clear.
But
What's happening.
I think we hear the intent. It's just,
It was really,
it's hard. Well, it's hard because I think.
But this is
Can I-
a good one because there's
Can I clarify
two.
what y'all want quantified, the exact thing? Because the measurement in this is all campuses will receive at least one visit.
I don't see that in there. I see we'll participate in random campus walks. It
Yeah.
doesn't define how many.
yeah, okay.
And that it's all. And then deliver 3 action steps to who. So like, and
Like, is it for her team? For campus team? Is that-
I can work on that.
The one that you just read, does that include, does that use the words like classroom, teacher?
No, I just said, measure and track, because then I could define it by,
I do like that wording, the classroom observation, teacher engagement, and campus, and connections with, I like that you put all of that in there, because I think that does track your guardrail. I think that really covers, the CFB staff and all stakeholders, and that really shows that that progress measure does link back to that guardrail.
So if you can combine the two, Wendy, that'd be great.
But what's the,
I mean, but
I'm
this is
sorry, can you say that one more time?
I just put the superintendent will measure and track campus needs and support for teachers, staff, and students by conducting purposeful campus visits at all CFB campuses each school year.
Well, that does include all 3 of those.
That's great.
Oh, gotcha. So then this one says specifically the measurable, which is all campuses.
Yeah.
This one does not say all campuses.
Right.
No,
Therefore, you want to see.
but
all
I could
campuses.
also add, I could combine them to make all of you.
Make all of us happy.
Well, because I do that, but there's sometimes when I just go, I may not participate, I may just stop by. That's it, so think back to 3 years ago, when I just stopped by, that's what came out of the attendance, the whole attendance plan,
so
because that's what they were telling me, right?
I think this also goes back to the guardrail itself, because what you just said was really important, is there's one thing of going for instructional walks. That's a thing
Right.
that could have an impact on student achievement. But there's another thing of you are feeling like you just walking and asking questions helps you learn and hear things that
Yeah.
then you're able to grow, like bring back to your team.
It's connections with campus staff.
So I think that it's interesting, like for us, like we've got CFB staff and all stakeholders. Oh, I don't know.
So you see how hard it is? Because I'm trying to interpret, and we put in here exceptional learning. So if you combine learning, I took out measure and track campus because it was all about exceptional learning. And so even though I go to campuses to visit for other things,
We didn't say it was true, we just said it's a belief.
Babe.
I knew this was gonna be the one that was gonna get us.
I'm interpreting with no lifeline to
Right.
say, what did you say? So then that's why I switched it, because after you let the paper sit, you go, but they said learning, so that doesn't include all.
Is this the bingo hall
So
one?
we're gonna give you another crack at this one.
It is a good
Okay,
progress.
but can we give her?
Yeah.
I know, but like, meshing those two together is what we're looking for.
But I'm just saying that is why I changed it, because I went back and go, oh, but they said shared belief in leadership and learning. We all have to share belief for an exceptional community. So I switched gears because it's exactly what you said. Yes, I go to campuses, we'll stop by, talk to the office clerks or anybody. But then sometimes I go with intent. But this said, I focused on the learning, which I forgot to have you highlight. If you'll highlight learning. So that switched to a different level.
Also, just thinking about this in a guardrail specific way, like there are two very specific actions in that guardrail that you are asking your superintendent to do, and it is to remain what?
Visible
And
active.
perfect. Now, if we just break it down from those two words, does that PM 3.1 meet visible and actively engaged? Cool. So then we're not disagreeing on whether or not the intent is right. You guys are like, yes.
Yeah.
You're more so talking about some of the more technical pieces, understanding. You're saying how many campuses will be visited. Is that right?
I think that's
To actually state all
all.
or 100% or whatever communicates all campuses. And then what's the other thing, just so that we're all clear?
Yeah. What is the other thing?
Quantifying
Quantifying what?
the measures of intent.
Like how many times you're
How
gonna
many
visit?
visits? How many?
I don't know,
are
that's
she
what Paul said, I wrote it down.
Yeah.
Paul.
I was like, how many times she's
But,
gonna visit?
okay, I have a question for the board. When you guys said visible and actively engaged, what were you hoping that the outcome for student achievement was gonna be
Mine was the first
if she
one.
was visible and actively engaged?
Because it was gonna cultivate a positive feel on campus where they feel like they're valued because she's visiting and she cares about what they're saying and doing.
So her visit, just her physically being present, not the action that she takes from the visit, is the most important thing.
I like the
I
first
can
one
say
because
that.
it promotes student outcome.
Well, that's what this says. You gotta be visible and actively engaged. You don't have to do anything, you just gotta be visible.
I like
And
that.
actively engaged, that's the doing.
So that could be like, hi Kim, how are you?
Yeah.
Which is
Totally.
deliberate, but it's
I don't
also-
think that that's wrong.
It's
Oh, I
deliberate
did,
three
like, pull
action
that.
steps.
I'm like, I didn't just write this myself.
No, I'm asking, like what?
But we want her to be actively engaged.
But-
But that's not only for that, that's the whole thing, because we're putting so much into this one.
I know.
Yeah, but that's why it's broken into three. Because it's
Randy,
internal,
really cool.
That's also
external.
true. We're also
I
looking
told
at
Randy
one
to be
without the
more
other two.
yeah, I'm
That
trying
might
to
meet
figure it
the
out.
needs of some of the other things that maybe are
I
being
was like
discussed.
internal,
Yeah.
external, and then back to internal.
Randy's gonna bring it all home right here.
Yeah.
Randy, engage.
Obviously, we like the idea of all campuses and visibly and actively engaged. I see this as directly tied to student achievement and student performance because you're checking on, I'm not trying to say that you're putting together a checklist that you're trying to follow every time you go to every campus, but you're evaluating it. Partly it's the use of your team as you're working with it. Is curriculum being followed? Are there things that we know we've been working on in an area, perhaps with the 6th through 8th graders as opposed to the 2nd through 4th graders? So there are just things, and I don't want to have to be dependent on my brain to try to say what those specifics are, but they are deliverables that I'm looking for so that this is helping us with student achievement.
And I want to go back to Paul saying that the leading versus participating, because I'm still engaged even if I'm not leading something. So I think we can get caught up in terminology. And do I'm visible and engaged, whether I'm the leader of it or not, I'm still gonna participate or be a part of it. And part of that, and I consider that a multi-step strategy, letting somebody else be uncomfortable to lead, or maybe they're comfortable, but giving opportunities. So sometimes you can't write all those words, but
And Wendy, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, I just
Yeah.
don't, I think what you read was much
I
more
think I can
clear.
marry the two, and I can live with that. Because honestly, when you're trying to guess what people say,
I like this
Is trustee Brady, the clarity that was provided in the one that Dr. Eldridge read, what were the phrases or words that felt like they were clarifying for you? I think we're all in agreement with that, the word all, right?
Can I ask us to take a break and put it on the screen? Because I'm a visual learner.
Yes.
And so even though she's read it like twice, I don't think I actually followed it.
oh, okay, here.
So can we take a time out because some people need to take a break anyway?
Yes.
Yes.
The time is, I can't tell,
Hang on.
7:32. We're gonna take a 10-minute break. 7:39, and we're back in session. We're looking at guardrail number 3, Partners 3.1, and
Tamara
Yes,
has
so
insight.
what we did was, first of all, is put Dr. Eldridge's initial language with the clarification that it is at all campuses annually for the first one. And then option 3.1 that Dr. Eldridge read out is now typed at the bottom of that screen. So President Hatfield and Trustee Brady, can you, for the group, kind of voice what what you want to see?
I think with the addition of at all campuses annually helps specify and clarify what is happening. So I do think that helps a lot in that first one.
Okay.
For me, I do like the word track and measure also from option 3.1.
What?
But I mean, now I think that's better. 3.1 is the first 3.1 is better now.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, because here's the question I wanna ask you next, is why do you want things tracked and measured?
So that we can be clear on how that is affecting our outcomes for our
Okay.
kids.
Because when we track and measure things, what is the next step after that?
To improve guardrails, goals, and outcomes.
Okay,
what
No,
is
yeah.
to actionize? Right?
Yeah, so I guess we can move moving forward.
absolutely.
I know that's the ultimate goal, and I think now I am certainly better with the first one with the addition of those last seven.
And I love that y'all asked that question though, right? Because that's what we're asking ourselves as like performance managers is to what end? Why do we want that thing? Until we get to, we want it to help improve student outcomes. And so Dr. E, I think that was your point, right? As it was explained to us, is like, I go on these walks so that I can find things that are actionable at either a campus level or that I can bring to the administration because it's a system-wide improvement that could impact the whole of CFB.
And you can see that that's going to be demonstrated by delivering 3 action steps. Because in order to deliver 3 action steps, she needs to do what first?
Well,
Right. Do the needs and do the track, measure and track the campus needs support. Right. That's happening already. If the outcome that she needs to produce is action steps as a system for the entire system.
Well,
we want-
and I think with this term right here, and connections, because I may wander off and not go in a classroom because there's something else that I needed to, I saw Randy doing that, I need to go check on that. And that's a connection that's not necessarily instructional. It could be office, cafeteria, security,
yeah, no, I'm
you know,
totally
so
fine with all
that's why I
That's-
added that, and I really
I
struggled
understand.
with, that I am so excited about this initiative, but I don't know how, this is the first time interpreting, again, it's a multi-step.
And then the
we're always
other
wanting to
question
improve.
I wanted to lift up that you asked, and I want to make sure that everybody heard it, was like, what is this going to look like in monitoring, right? Because as we all know, the role of the board is not to get like, can I see all of the action steps, right? Like that's not what that's all the strategy stuff. So what Dr. E has discussed with us is your monitoring report is going to look, and we're going to look at this as like, here are the number of campus visits I currently conducted, right? Here are some bright spots that I found when visiting our campuses. So you will get some of that really high level information of like, what kind of stuff are we hearing? And then what did we do as a result? And where are some areas for growth?
That's exactly what we're looking for.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah,
I am-
and that's something that is already tracked and measured by me to improve our learning.
Yeah.
Not
I
just
know, I have no
for
doubt that
teachers,
that's
but
happening.
for everybody, like, for our secretaries, what do you guys want? I mean, it is, for our office people, that it's everybody.
Bus drivers.
Action steps.
Well, we see it. I mean, we know that you're
Yeah,
hearing
but
them
I
and
just wanna make
delivering.
sure
Yeah.
that,
But I just think it's clearer now that if I were not in this room and I were just reading that I can understand what it is you're doing. That's more clear.
I just have one more question.
okay,
Got it. The deliver 3 action steps. is it to who? Because I feel like you said that you were gonna, some of them are gonna go to campus, some of them are gonna go to central office, and is it 3 action steps per campus? Because that's really specific, like, I'm going to find 3 things when I go on this walk.
Well, I think, yeah, I can say I usually do.
Okay.
I just don't wanna get in the weeds, but.
Well, and I don't wanna get in the weeds of us. 'Cause
But yes,
I'm not
I could
thinking
say
you're gonna
3
tell
is a
us,
good number.
I
It may
delivered
be,
3 action steps.
it may be, oh, wow, so we need to work on work order implementation, you know, just, it could be operational, it could be instructional, it could be,
Hey, that's awesome, we need to do more of that.
Yes. Yes.
it could be security minded, you know,
All we want is 3 action steps. But I guess to her point, just.
But there's
we're not
always,
gonna-
if
We're not
you-
doing action steps.
okay, so I'll give you, so if you walked in your house right now, would there be 3 things that you would tell your kids or your husband to do?
Yes.
All the time.
Why didn't you? It could be either phrasing a question or things they need to do. Think about how big a school is and how many people work there. And some of them are actionable. They could go on a list. They could, it could be a 911. It could be, wow, we need to do a video here. It could be a lot of things.
Okay, but Ellie, you know we're not getting those actions, okay?
You'll get them at a high level of like, this is
Like,
like. the
based on our
biggest-
campus visits this year, here's some of the things that we did. It could be teaching people, it could be, lots of things.
But there's so many celebrations that can come out of that.
Correct.
Yes,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Or how
because
what's
there is
happening
some
here
great things
is
that,
impacting others.
yes, there's some
I
great
mean, to
things.
your point to that, Carolyn, like, this bright spot over here, hey, I want these people to go see that.
We call it glows and grows. There's a lot of glows. And then we take mental, wow, it's our job to support. And I think, Kim and Randy, when we were at the Blue Ribbon Dinner, that was a prime example of the principal saying it takes a village, and we feel supported because we see it, and we're gonna help you get what you need. And that couldn't happen if we weren't going to see or to discuss it with you. And that's what we wanna hear. That's great evidence that what we say we wanna do is also in action happening in their blue ribbon. And they felt valued, so we kind of did multi.
Okay, we feel better about 3.1? 3.2?
And can I say one thing? I wanna, like, to the people asking questions, right? I know sometimes it's like, oh, I should let it go. This is awesome, because the more clear and confident that you are on this, the better equipped you are to not only ask questions, but to explain those types of things to the community or anybody that's talking to you as a leader, to say, yeah, we did ask all of those questions, and I can explain to you the intent, what our thought process was, and how that's gonna impact our kids.
So technical questions, even about like, to whom, or like 3 per campus, or 3 at the end of the year in
Yep.
total. That not only does that clarify for y'all what to message to people, but also even to Dr. Eldridge, she gets to clarify that for herself and go, I meant this. So we're all clear.
And I think I've made references to that's on the list. That didn't come from sitting in our office, that came from seeing. And sometimes we don't always give you the list. Because I think people are doing great things, and it's our job to make sure that that gets done, not because they have our students. So, okay, the next one, I think this one is super important too, because what I learned today from a principal is since we have started community relations and different things, she told me that one of our faith-based leadership groups gave her a check for $10,000. And so if you think about community partnerships, we started that. We felt, they're very active and they're doing great things. Those are so important because that money helps support what they need on their campus for student outcomes. And so I think while we're creating, it does take time. So let's say we create this faith-based leadership group. You all you didn't get to attend the meetings or see who was involved. They come to pray at our meetings, which is important. But now they have formed their own groups and they see the need, like just all the things they want to do. So then we seek mentoring and internship. So forming community events, getting financial donations, but also getting them to check in with our students and be a part. And that only comes if you, one, attend an event, but also that could be bringing an event in here, or bringing the people. So that was the other thing I thought, is it just attending community events, or it's also creating, because we are getting ready to create, which is a multi-step strategy, create our community ambassador program, and we've written all that out. So those, whether it may not be a specific community event, it's activating the community to help with those are just a few. So I think that, numbers, but I think 10 is easy. I look at my calendar and I'm going to connect with someone no matter where I go, because I think people want to help kids and they want to help teachers, which is how our teacher of the event came to run through the Education Foundation, because I believe people want to invest in us and in teachers. So I don't know if I just want to make it clear that, and if you want me to add, we'll attend, or, like I think about next week, I'm bringing in the mayors. So people are going to talk, or the students are going to talk. So that could be a layer that leads to, Dr. Eldridge, have you thought, my mom knows this person. So all those things are multi-layered. And I think it's so important in our communities to be a part of it. And I enjoy being a part of all of it.
So technically it's an event once a month throughout the school year, active school year, August through May.
I would say, yeah. Because I have 2 events Saturday with Valley Ranch Baptist and Heartland, because they're doing things. And, the Dallas Cowboys is a huge partnership. And so they have events, and, I meet other people from that. So I think 10 is a good baseline. I mean, definitely you'll see the results of it.
Feedback, questions?
I think Sharon does this
I
really well.
would change will attend to will participate in, because some of those events are
Okay.
bringing in here may not be going out to there, so it's,
Yeah,
I don't have an issue with the number, I just want to maximize your time.
Yeah, I think Randy brings up a good point, that you do a really nice job of also bringing the community in to us, rather than you having to go to the place. I mean, I'm sure it's actually a resources that you agree with us, but you do a really nice job of that.
And I think the key thing too is to continue to grow.
Dr. Eldridge, do you approve that change?
Oh yeah, I struggled with it.
Like, you said we'll
Because-
participate or we'll engage?
Participate.
I said we.
Participate.
I do. I think
I think you can delete the optional.
Okay.
Any other feedback on 3.2?
No.
Wendy, I think you did a great job.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good job.
I mean, I love people.
Wendy?
I do. This has been, I keep enhancing this. And so this is, some of you have attended. This is our Team CFB. And, we try to have one every month, but if I feel like the principals or the leaders, which includes all administrators, department leaders, and coordinators, the feedback is, can we not have a meeting in December? We have a lot of things. So we're not going to have a meeting in December. So I think 8 is reasonable. But it's become, I always, multi-step strategy, I love that. I also want them to learn something that they can implement. So last month, we taught them how to do some AI videos. Because I want our leadership to learn, but I also want them to get our updates. So from month to month, I have a slideshow so that what we discuss at the board meeting, I put things that have happened over the month so that all of these people internally know what's happening in our district. And I may pick somebody to, like Leon did an update on student services and how their efforts have helped, and he may have another thing, but it's never more than one. Chris may give a facility update, an HR update, but then we also celebrate. We have celebrations, and that is just, okay, Paul, what would you like to tell us? So some people tell us, I became a grandparent, or they tell us something personal. And then the employee recognition, some of you have seen it, they give the awards to themselves. So they pick the person, and then we celebrate and recognize our social media ambassadors. So I think you guys may see some of that, but to me, I keep elevating it, which is another layer to that I've pulled out the principals, and they've gotten to experience CEOs from businesses that is 1 hour. So lots of different things happen under this umbrella to continue to grow our people. So, if any of you ever want to attend, let me know, because Kim can tell you the date. And we never keep them more. We start at 10 and we try to be, we never go past 11:30, because I don't believe any meeting should last that long, to teach them something, to keep them updated, to honor them, and to recognize them. And it's very quick. And I think Ileana came to one when we were doing legislative. We had Matthew Hall there, and he was teaching like what we can and can't say about legislation, and then we did our advocacy priorities. So it's really a good use of time. Yes.
I think it is good.
Just to clarify, because I heard this last time, but I noticed it's not in 3.2. 10 community events annually.
I was gonna ask you to do that one and that one.
Okay,
Okay.
gotcha. I just want to make sure that's what you
And the
actually
last
meant.
one should be annually too.
Annually, and then you
8
said
district meetings in person.
annually
Yeah.
to provide. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
The only thing I heard you say was you also focus that time on growing people. So I wonder if you feel like that is important enough to put into the statement. Like, is that?
Well, again, I go back to learning, so I've really tried to keep that theme. I'm teaching them to be a part of a learning community, so they take that back. But if we need to
No, I
say,
think it's right. It's just not in the PM. Like the growing piece.
Is growing in the guardrail?
Yes. So that's sufficient.
I'm asking is the
well, I
word
don't know if
growth-
it's growing, it's learning,
Right.
and learning and growing.
Cultivating.
If that's a byproduct of what is happening, is what I'm hearing, is like obviously they're learning and they're growing and they're learning.
I
That is
took the
good.
word learning,
No, I think you did a great job.
but I may say, is learning growing?
Yes.
We're good.
Technical,
Yes.
it's
It's
hard,
semantics now
right?
at that point.
Like,
It's like iron my face.
no, it's,
It's good, it's good, Wendy, you did a good job.
Yeah.
And I think those CFP meetings are awesome, and I think I hear principals talk about them and what happened there, and like, benefits award or whatever, and then it pushes them to make it better, so.
well, it is like the Academy Awards, because nobody knows who's gonna get the award because it comes from them.
Yeah.
And they read a statement and say, this person has done this, and it's collegial, it's great collegialship, professionalism, that you're like, wow. Okay, I was like, which one? Okay, so what I heard from this one, if you want to get your highlighter out, is, and what really resonated with me was retention. Retain high quality staff, and improvement for student success. Because I believe, as much as you all, that when you have quality staff, you're going to improve for students and for your organization. So what's interesting is the word recruit. Because this may be a Wendy personal thing, I think that when you create and you retain high quality staff, they recruit people of their caliber to come work with you. And so I didn't really focus on recruiting, because I don't know how to measure a job fair if I got one teacher I really wanted to focus on making our teachers the best. And with that, and retaining them, comes from the TIA designations. And I really think that is the way we are going, that these teachers that are TIA designated, which is a teacher incentive allotment, and again, you see the X, because I don't know what, I have to do some calculations. But last year we had, I wrote it down because I wanted to get it right. Last year we had 400, we went, so in 23-24, we had 312, write this down, we had 312 TIA teachers, okay? And then last year, so that was 23-24, then 24-25, we went up to 411. Okay, so we have 1,763 teachers. So if you calculate how many of those are TIA designations, they get way more money. There's a scale of how much they receive. And so next to 312, I want you to write how much the allotment was that this does not come out of our budget, okay? So in 23-24, that total TIA allotment that we gave out to the 312 teachers was $2.9 million, okay? And then in 24-25, next to 411, was $4 million. And so that, we have teachers that if you looked at so I deep dive into this, which I'm not ready to put a percent, but if you look at the teachers that are TIA designated, that means they are in one of these categories, recognized, exemplary, or mastery, and they have to be, there's a whole process for that. There's calibration, they have to score a certain measure to reach these 3 statuses. In each category, they get more money. So if you think about retention, of those teachers that I had you write down, we have a 91% retention rate. Wow. So if you talk about, we want high quality staff and we want to retain them, we can retain them. That is a huge measure, 91%, because they now have this designation where they are high quality teachers and they're making a high quality salary that does not impact our budget that comes from the state. And I feel like that is where we're going, and we put a lot of efforts into advertising this, but we need to keep increasing that, because as we look at our budget, we want our teachers to feel valued and we want to retain them. Because if you take the retention, where the teachers are designated and what the student performance was at those campuses, a lot of them are our A campuses. So where you have more TIA designated, high expertise, high quality teachers, you have more achievement and they're not going to leave. And when there's if you study employee retention, how much it costs every time an employee leaves, it's a lot. So we want to retain our teachers and we're increasing them. I think that was, what did we calculate, 30%? 35% increase in that. And so I've got to figure out how much we can increase that every year so that we hope to get the highest number of designated TIA teachers in this area so we don't lose them. Because trying to train teachers, it's hard. So that is, to me, we will continue to expand that program and to teach our administrators how we identify them, how we make sure that we create the entire pipeline to have, I would love 90% of our teachers, all teachers, to be under that TIA designation.
So it's a program that already exists.
It exists, but it's so interesting because I think we, as CFB, we are ahead of the curve in a lot of districts. But when I did the numbers from when it started, it's the numbers I gave you are incredible. And they take a great pride in saying they're a TIA teacher. I think we had some of them come to one of the board meetings and how much money they were making. some of them don't want to be administrators, so we need to retain high quality staff. And I think we're gonna explore, some other, whatever TA is offering. There's lots of new things that have come out, but I wanna focus on that and give you a percent, so I don't have that today.
Do we have like a time that we're gonna get that percentage, or like what happens after?
Well, I said annually, so I want to calculate like what we've done
Oh,
and
like a
how many
base.
people give you a baseline.
Okay.
Because is 35%, I would love to say, hey, let's get 50% more, but I don't want you to sit here and go, you failed.
So do we need to change that?
I'll say at least blank percentage points annually, so I'll calculate a percent, like, yeah, I'll give you an average.
You're just asking by when can we expect that number to be filled in, essentially?
Oh,
And how
you
long
want
do
a
you
due
think?
date? I don't know, can I have a 30 days, a month?
I mean, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that, I'm not gonna leave it blank, because these are all
No, no, no,
efforts,
I
but
was
I
just-
get it, yeah.
Part of it will obviously depend on when they get the qualification, so
Right.
it typically is gonna come through.
Well, they're doing lots of calibrations and just taking an average of the time I've been here to give you an accurate target.
Great.
And then, okay, so is everybody okay with that? And I can give you a lot of data.
There's a lot of data. Yeah.
Or information of what campuses, how many campuses have how many teachers, because multi-step strategy, I have a lot of ideas for that. So this one, I've got a lot of to-dos, but this is important to me to build what do our teachers and principals need. We talk about growing them. What does it look like to give them leadership development? What do they need to do to be recognized? If I asked you, how do you feel valued if you're recognized? Some people say, I need to learn more, I need a card, I need you to tell me all the time, I need you to send me an email. What does that look like to retain teachers, to build their capacity, that if they're not a part of this, what do I do to keep them? And our principals. So like, I'm taking a couple principals in leadership development to Midwinter for 2 days, because I want them to see what they could be. There's some great sessions. What are you aspiring? So I ask them, what do you aspire to be? But what does that look like for all? I want to really get that nailed down. What do teachers need to go to the next level? Because we have aspiring administrators, but I think we can refine who did we advertise, how can we grow that? So you could have aspiring administrators, but we could also back that down to teachers who want to become other things than just a principal. So anyway, I want to put together that I'm working on that to keep, again, all resources to retain. I do not recruit, I really focus on retaining. So, what do you guys think about that? Like if you came to work in an organization, I learned this from a teacher at Bush, and she said, I've been teaching 5 years now, but I don't want to be a principal. Well, I think we need to do better at building what they want to be in their learning, their development, and how we keep them, because we are a business with HR, curriculum, operations, and so I think we can build something. I call it 5 years now, but I don't know. I've started working on it. I just haven't put it all together. Trademark. But if you think about retaining people, I'm going to lose somebody because I didn't give them the opportunity
To go into a
to
different
see what, or to
direction
expose
or-
them.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense.
I like that.
So I'm going to build your capacity to do what you think you can do.
Yeah, like the only thing is the principal.
And if I need to reword it, but I just tried to think about everybody and
everything you did.
Yeah,
you know.
Leadership, recognition.
Yeah.
Because we said
this,
high quality staff.
because you take it personal when you meet someone, you know their quality, and then they leave you.
Well, I would almost say that second goal could be kind of recruiting. Maybe you're recruiting from
That's
within,
true.
but you're still recruiting.
Thank you, Marjorie. Yeah, I mean, I think,
We got you.
you know, we have a young girl, Kim, in communications, and, you know, she wants to grow, and she came to our office today, and we said, we got you, we helped her understand, and so that's what I take pride in, helping our team grow and become more than what they thought they could be.
Is the board clear on by when this is expected?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay, is the board clear on what is to be delivered to you guys?
A comprehensive plan.
Good, so just the plan will be created.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then at that point,
Well,
She
because
would
my
probably
vision
say-
is that you all are our ambassadors. So when you go, okay, I met Miss So-and-so or Mr., and you go, but we have these opportunities for you to grow. Because I went over to aspiring administrators, I knew most of them, but some of them say, I don't want to be an administrator, is this the only avenue? But you can say, here's what you could do, you go help that, I got this problem, but, and then this one's kind of bold. I don't want any,
I was like, I want to drop the mic, I want to make it like 2028, but I'll drop the mic at 2030.
well, if you
Yeah,
target
sure.
out learning, and then you look at all the data, so all of it connects. TIA teachers, our two campuses that have that have very few.
Interesting.
So we've got to get high quality teachers that we retain there.
The plan. 1, 2. I was like, we gotta go through that.
But I don't want that, and so I'm pouring everything into getting, because that means students are learning. And it's nobody's fault, it's just we have to support them.
I like that. That's bold.
I almost like to see that, again, correlation between your student survey and those two campuses. Do
Yeah.
they feel valued? Do they feel safe? Do they feel?
Yeah, because I can tell you, I've looked at data from when kids were in 5th grade and they went to a middle school. Again, that's another strategy. Do we do a good job of knowing what kids were getting? Do we, so that you're already teaching here instead of, there's lots of things. Anything on this?
we agree, you've done an exceptional job.
Exceptional.
Is this
She said, did I do it? You did.
Like, I'm smelling that queso. You guys know how much I love queso. I'm like,
I mean, I think you, like, even the ones that we tweaked, we like tweaked them on the spot.
Your speaking is done, right?
I think.
well, I guess I had to read a lot about this because it is a different way of thinking, but it's also putting in, so
It's
they're
probably a high level thinking, like really high level, to come down. This is good.
But it's also wanting to reassure you that we all want this. And we also want our people to stay, because we have really good people. So, are you next?
Have we concluded
I
the
have been uncomfortable to be
guardrail
comfortable.
progress measures
I will sleep well tonight.
review?
She understood the assignment.
You did a good job, Lenny.
So,
I couldn't do it without my team. And you'll
Good job, Kim. Good job. Good teamwork.
No, it's also all the team, that isn't here. We
Great job.
collaborate.
That was good.
Congratulations, y'all. That was incredible to listen to. That was a whole strategy conversation that you kept bringing back to students, building infrastructure that is going to support students in excellence in CFBI. Like, that just gave me all the feels.
and the only thing that I'd like to say is, like, now that you've gone through the process of goals, goal progress measures, having deep conversations about those that I unfortunately was not here for, and then your guardrails, right? That you guys all drafted together, right? And spent tons of time coming up with those intentionally. Then for this moment to have these now solidified, both together, do you think that if those are the things we focus on as a board, as a superintendent here in CFP-ISD, that will truly define that we are winning here in CFP-ISD? Do you guys feel that?
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. That's the feeling that you need to walk away with.
Yeah, and that you're excited to bring this to your community and feel like they are gonna be super excited about getting on board and supporting these efforts. So, incredible job. All right, we're gonna do this. Yay. Okay, so you've heard us, Joey's gonna pass out some magnificent papers that he made just for y'all. He was stapling and everything. The man works, he's tireless. We have alluded a lot to this, and I really appreciate, first of all, people who have, again, like gone back to this, and also the patience to be like, I've heard about this monitoring progress, but what is it? So we're gonna tell you, or we're gonna show you actually. So what y'all should be looking for, actually, let me back up. We will also go back over this when you start monitoring progress next semester, because I know that like hopefully everybody will sleep between now and then, right? But this is just kind of a little teaser for y'all to get excited for what's to come. Okay, so here's what you can expect from a high quality monitoring report, and what you're going to see in the next couple of slides is these are all related to goals and goal progress measures. It's the same concept for guardrails and guardrail progress measures. So a high quality monitoring report is gonna contain 4 things. Number 1, you're gonna know what you're measuring, right? I wanna see the goal, I wanna see the goal progress measure. Dr. Eldridge is going to give you the current status of where you are at, right? Which is also, and I appreciate that this was a conversation before, you will have annual targets for all of your goals and goal progress measures and guardrails, right? So you're not looking 5 years out, right? You're looking to say annually, are we meeting the benchmarks that we need to so that we are confident that we will meet our 5-year goal. Dr. Eldridge will then give you her interpretation of CFB's performance, right? Are we on track to meet the goal? If so, why do I believe that? Are we progressing? If so, what are we looking at? Or are we off track? And then 4th, depending on what we found, right, what are next steps? Questions, comments on this? Okay, cool. All right, so we are presenting tonight a GPM status that is on track because we expect to see lots and lots and lots of green lights in this district. And so going back to 1 and 2 here, which is the status of the goal and what's being measured, is this, can you see how that is articulated here? Or is there anything that you feel like is missing from this first slide? Cool. So you will, Dr. Eldridge will be producing something like this for you every single month, right? Where you are able to look at that. And then the other thing that we've talked about, right, is that these reports should be understandable by anybody in your community, whether they are a data scientist, whether they're an educator, whether like, I don't know anything about public school other than like I had a public school education, because we want everybody to feel included and be able to follow the success of CFB. Any questions, thoughts, comments on this?
Would like that, like it's from 2023 to 2027.
I'm sorry, Trustee Brady, can you say that one more time?
So I like the green light.
Anybody else love the traffic light? No, just one.
No, I think there's a traffic light template, right?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure she has.
Why
it.
don't you turn it this way?
Oh, you prefer a vertical traffic?
Vertical.
Listen, I will have a traffic light
so much
focus with
space.
anybody. Deep passion for the light. Again, like that's an accessibility thing, right? Is like, no matter who I am or what my level of engagement is, I can immediately look at this and know where my district is, right?
Pop quiz. What is the target for spring 25? 66%? What was the actual?
66.
Awesome. Are we on track, off track?
On track.
Awesome. Summary of data. Why is that important to have an explanation there?
Because it means where we came from, where we're headed, how we got here.
Why else might it be important for there to be something in the summary of data?
Somebody doing well, just the visualization.
We're meeting our goals.
For all those reasons. But yes, ultimately,
Especially if the constituents are looking at it.
absolutely.
And we've been
At the end of the day, just say the thing that the graph says,
Yeah.
right? Because to assume that like they just understand what's going on is the wrong assumption. And ultimately, if you're like somebody like me, sometimes I like hearing the thing. Just tell me what the data is trying to say, right? That helps board members, it helps community members, it helps everyone watching the meeting.
The only question I have to you though is maybe at the bottom of the box, would you define MAP? Because a lot of parents, I mean, just as being a former administrator, if you're reading this, and I think about my husband who is not an educator, he would go, well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you either define it at the bottom, or you just say reading achievement, because I always think, who is this targeted for? And if it's part of our community, reading map proficiency, I guarantee you somebody will say, is that reading maps? Because they don't know it. And so I always feel like we talk in so many codes, and I'm wondering if that's ever come up. That's what I wonder.
I love that, and the way that we've seen this before is like, yes, put it on the PowerPoint. I've heard people voice that over every single time there's an acronym. I've also heard people just put it in an index at the end, right, where like people, the community will always be able to find commonly used words during monitoring reports. And I don't see the issue with obviously you saying that you want to put that on this slide.
Okay.
Tam, I don't know if you have any different.
No, I love that, and I think the more clarity, right, the clarity is inclusiveness and accessibility, and so saying MAP is the tool that we use to measure whether or not our kids are on track throughout the course of the year. Amazing.
I think the more and more they hear it, then we're not just making up different assessments, because they know stars, so that's in there, but then we switched over here with MAP.
Without reading anything, our achievement has increased, goals were met in spring of 24 and 25, without looking at anything. And then that makes me think I'm giving my phone another permission with the green light this way. Seriously.
So we're all clear too on what goal is being measured here?
Yes.
Cool. What GPM?
Matt,
What grade?
second.
Cool. Then I have no more questions for you guys.
Pop quiz passed.
Okay, so this is what we were alluding to before when we discussed the guardrails, right? Is superintendent insights, because what this process requires Dr. E and her team to do is bring the analysis that they are doing behind the scenes to inform their decision making out to you as the board and out to the community, right? We know that anytime they are looking at data or different data, period, we can just stop there. It's the reason why data is important is because what? Because it drives action. Absolutely. And so what you're going to get here is you are going to get Dr. Eldridge's highest level insights in terms of bright spots. Here are the things that are working and that we're really excited about, right? And then you're also going to see areas of growth. We've looked at all the stuff. We're noticing that we need improvement on here. And then I'll stop there because the next part. Quiz? You have quiz things?
I do have a quiz.
Okay.
According to this, do you see any either campus or student level data here?
Yes.
Where?
Well, student group data.
Student group, but not student level.
No.
Why is that important?
Groups are important.
We're talking about grade students meeting grade level.
Right. We're talking about this being the analysis of the data you just saw on the last slide, right? The last slide is the kind of overall aggregate. This is pulling out specific pieces that Dr. Eldridge decided to pick out on purpose. Why do you think these were the things that she would pick out?
Because
They're big hit. What do you call them? It's not the big
high
hit.
leverage.
High leverage. But I really like the closing the gap for the EB kids. Explains it, yes, it increased 7 points in 1 year, but that means it's reducing the gap with our non-EB students from 9 to 4%. So it's like here it is, but this is what it actually means, like why this is important.
Well, and also in terms of that first one, could it also kind of start off future goals? Like when you're looking at ISD pre-K, it's had the strongest gains. So it can kind of, I don't know, steer towards
Push our
future.
CV 20.
I see what you mean. At the end of the day, what you're seeing eventually, right, might be like some strategies that are leading up to doing second grade really well. At the end of the day, if that's what you're getting out of monitoring second grade data, then what that's telling you is you're monitoring the right thing, especially if you continue to find good stuff under there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you might want to be like, oh, but like now we need to monitor pre-K. Why? You're getting all this because you're monitoring second grade, right? And so, but that's a great question too. But that does do what you're talking about. It's highlighting strategies, and you're going. Dr. Edge is going to go back and be like, all right, we need to do more of that probably, right? Because it's showing the results that we want, and then ultimately I can come back to my board eventually and say, hey y'all, so this is like a really high leverage thing that we're doing, like, and we're going to need to resource it, buy more because we need to do X, Y, and Z. So anyway.
And the thing that I love that Trustee Barnes just modeled, I don't even think you know that you did it, is this report should set y'all up to ask good questions, right? Like, who has looked at a whole bunch of numbers and data and been like, I don't even test. Every day, right? That's not an effective strategy conversation if you all as performance managers are not equipped to look at this and ask good probing questions. Because, we'll bring this back, I know that like what happens when Joey and I prepare something for our bosses, we are going, we know they're gonna ask this, we know they're gonna ask that, but then we also look and assess everything and try and anticipate, and we catch stuff all the time. Or say, oh, we haven't quite thought about that. I think that was a strategy conversation, even in your guardrail conversation, right? Where you push the thinking.
Yeah.
And that is what great leaders do. Questions, comments, thoughts on that? Okay.
Real quick, areas for growth. Are these bad?
No, I figure that's what the next slide is gonna show us.
This is what I want to get at. Like, this isn't a good or bad, right? It is just in relation to accessing our goal, which is third grade reading, and the GPM is second grade. This is what we need to address in order to get better, right?
Well, then I'm gonna look at the kids with IEPs and say, okay, what do we need to do better for this? Or
Right.
how can we make that better?
Or like the one above it, like.
We're gonna have TIA.
We have ELAR positions open, and then I fully anticipate if that's a 0 point change, she's going to try to figure out how the heck am I filling those positions.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, so on bright spots and areas for growth, do you feel confident that the superintendent, just based on these, this isn't a lot of information either, it's 3 and 3. Do you feel confident that the superintendent has done an analysis of the data?
Yes.
The
Well,
other
and
thing,
I think to your point, like, I think that creates what you started out with was leadership's uncomfortable, but it's also honest. And we have to be, that we're not, I mean, we would love that all to be no areas for growth, but this is an organization, like
continuous improvement.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's
And
okay.
the one other thing that we want to point out, because it's really important, and Dr. E modeled this really well before when you said, when I go on my learning walks and I see these certain things, I think, what do I need to do better? What do we need to do better to support our teachers, our central staff, our students, et cetera, right? The accountability for everything that happens in this district is in this room. And so this also creates, it's not the teachers aren't doing this, the kids aren't learning, it is what do we need to do, what the adults in this room need to do to support the people doing the work, the kids in the classroom, so that they can succeed better. All right, so the foreshadowing thing went on. This is the last slide. So this is like, the what, so what, now what, right? What are the highest leverage strategies that we engaged in to move this goal progress measure? What happened as a result, right? Which is basically like, is that thing working or not? And then what do we need to adjust something? An adjustment could be like, yes, we're gonna do way more of that because this is awesome. Or it is, hey, we looked at those areas for growth, and as a result, right, this is what we're going to do.
I think it's great. I think it really helps everybody be on the same page and pinpoint exactly what we're doing, and that we need to keep these as our talking points and our combined focus. This is it.
That's how my mind thinks. I always think, oh my gosh, we need to, yeah.
Someone.
And this,
You're always
right, like,
thinking of adjustments.
when y'all as performance managers are getting the high leverage, like our experience with coaching boards is all of this stuff, it doesn't become as important of like, well, how did you do that? Or what were the 18 things we did? Because it's like, what do we want to know if it's working or not? That's your role as a performance manager sitting in this seat. Because ultimately, why do you want to know if the thing is working? Yes, that's right. That's the Super Bowl. I love it. It was almost a complete trust fall. There was one little. He's like, no, she's not here. Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay, I also like the bold font because it makes it really easy to like pull it's just, the format's really nice.
And Cass likes the format because it's also the spreadsheet format. So it's all of her alley.
We should start a thing, yeah. How many slides was this total?
3.
That's all we need.
That is all you need. We always recommend no more than 5. If you have more than 5, you're probably getting way too tactical. And it's less concise, which means it's probably less informative.
Correct.
Because now you're just pulling everything out of the kitchen sink.
Anything else?
Anything else? Any questions?
Okay. Let's talk about y'all's role in this, right? And that is, you've got this on your paper. So I'm sure, y'all have done this already. But how do I really be effective as a board member? And that is to live in the strategic. Your job, because the strategic questions drive an analysis. They drive further thought. They drive further considerations. Now, that is not to say that you will not have technical and tactical questions. Technical is just how is that thing being measured, right? And tactical is understanding how something is done. And I'm sure if we replayed the tape, y'all could look and go, oh yeah, that was a technical or tactical question. The reason why those are important is because we need context of how things happen or how they're being measured so that we can get to the strategic, right? And so I don't want to create the impression that these questions are bad and these questions should be in service of the strategic. And so y'all will know that you are effective and improving as a board when we can look back at your board meetings and go, they spent an hour monitoring, their goals and their guardrails, and the board mostly lived in the strategic. Questions, comments on that?
But some of the strategic isn't going to happen until we get some of the baseline and the monitoring as we go along. That's not going to happen at the next board meeting necessarily, is what you're saying.
It'll start when you start monitoring.
From the goal side.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really explaining the why and the how.
Mm-hmm.
And I would honestly, I love that you mentioned that because there might be one more, I don't know when you guys are going to start monitoring, January?
January.
Cool. All right, so then it will happen next month. But in this month, do you guys have another meeting this month?
No.
All right. Hypothetically speaking,
We only have a week left till break, so.
I would strongly encourage, whether it's monitoring or not, the more strategic your questioning can be, the better of a question it is from a board perspective anyway. I don't mean to call out any other boards, so I won't, but I will say, asking about what brand of buses are a part of this, that is not strategic, that is going to be technical or tactical. Once again, not saying that it's not a good or bad question, it's just not a high leverage question. So the more strategic your questions can be, especially in the
What kind of
context.
bus is this is a bad question. I will say that. And this board will never do that.
I'm more diplomatic.
Jody, I will go to the board. Yeah, that one. Oh, yes.
Right.
That one.
We will hit a button every time a question that is way too tactical comes up. But that's honestly the I guess the advice that we would give is the more strategic you are, even outside of monitoring student outcome goals and guardrails, the better your questions probably are as a board member and more appropriate they are as a board member.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you want to do the quiz?
Yeah, let's do a quiz. Now that you have the definitions in front of you, are you ready? How many students were surveyed? Is that a technical, tactical, or a strategic question?
Technical.
Why?
Because you're asking a question, how something is measured. Oh, I guess you're building number of students. Tactical.
How many students were surveyed? Technical, tactical, or strategic? I've heard 2 trustees say tactical.
Technical,
Caroline, did you say technical? Tell me why.
because it's a number. I mean, you're not pulling out just one, you're saying the whole.
Are you trying to understand how something is done or how something is measured?
I would say measured.
Paul?
I see that.
It's tactical.
Trustee Gilmore? Trustee Shackman?
You can call me whatever.
I was trying to measure how the survey was done, so that's technical.
Very good. It is a technical question. And sometimes they do get a little complicated because you're thinking about, am I actually talking about how something is done or is how something is measured? If we're looking at certain data and it's saying 90% of students love school or love their teachers, the question is how many students were surveyed. That is trying to understand how that was measured, not necessarily how it was done.
And the reason that's important, right, to build on like why technical or tactical are critical to getting to strategic, is we have watched boards who got very upset about survey data only to find out that it was like 1% of parents, right? Do we need to make a massive adjustment if 1% of the entire district reported unfavorably?
No.
Right.
No, right? So that's a situation where that is such an important context builder, because if 4 people are mad versus 400, that's a very different conversation.
Right. But still helpful to understand in order to ask the better question.
So
All right.
I have a question. So if we were building a presentation to the board, we could state the facts up front so that they had a context, right?
Sure. But
That,
not
like I surveyed, 400 students, and 60% of them, like, wouldn't you preface that
it's great context, but
to build that?
but remember, the report is 3 slides long,
Yeah.
right? So
You're talking.
so you're gonna the report in nature is a strategic report, so it's probably not gonna have all the
So
tactical
they
or
have to
technical.
trust that we
Right.
did our due diligence to have.
And they
more
might
than-
have to ask those questions ahead of time to make sure that they understand the context before they go on and ask the strategic question at a meeting.
And that would be the expectation, right, is that like when you get the board or the monitoring report in advance of the board meeting, you're really trying to get your technical and tactical questions to your administration.
That would be in our board calls. I would say,
Yeah.
okay, guys,
Ahead
we
of
did
time.
this survey. Here's all. We only had one school not participate. They had a problem, but I could give them all that information when we go over everything, right?
Yep, but
Okay.
and as long as everybody is receiving all the same information, that,
Okay.
as you know, is
Yeah,
absolutely critical,
absolutely.
right?
Okay.
And we could talk about different processes for that, including there are boards, and I do think this is helpful, that ask their technical and tactical questions ahead of time. The administration answers that, and then they actually post those questions with the agenda. That is helpful because I know that y'all want to demonstrate to your community that you are like doing your job, right? And it helps them follow along, so there are some benefits too. But the ultimate goal is to have this be the highest leverage meeting possible, and that means you are having a conversation about strategy.
Yeah, that's the goal, is that every question that comes out at a board meeting is a strategic question, because you've already asked your technical and tactical ahead of time.
And this will be this is harder than it sounds.
Way harder.
So, and this will be a process for all of us.
How does staff PD align to the 2nd grade assessment? Technical, tactical, strategic. How does staff PD align to the 2nd grade assessment?
Strategic.
Why?
Because because it requires more information than just a one-word answer. But hopefully you're strategically trying to get to your goals by aligning the 2 things together. There's your face again.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make a face. I need to fix my face is what I've been hearing from this whole entire meeting. Any other opinions? Technical, tactical, or strategic? How does staff PD align to the 2nd grade assessment? Does this measure how something is done, how something is measured, Or is this to,
I heard a sweet whisper from
A
Trustee
comparison?
Gilmore.
Trustee Gilmore, what'd you say?
I think tactical,
Tell me why.
because it says here questions to understand, that's how does, so it's trying to understand how the second grade assessment aligns with the.
What's that, PD?
Yeah.
So this one is one of those where it depends on the context of what you're monitoring, right? If this is specifically on a second grade monitoring report, and one of the things that Dr. Eldridge listed out was like that PD needs to be stronger for blah, 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 or that we have this kind of PD going on, and the question is how does staff PD align to it? That might be a strategic question in that context. But in most other contexts, Trustee Gilmore is absolutely correct that this is more of a tactical question, because you're really trying to get at like a PD, a specific input, which is PD, and trying to understand how that is done.
And I want to address, because Trustee Brady, I know exactly what you're talking about. I believe I'm going to say it, you tell me. Is what I'm hearing is it takes strategic thinking on the part of the administration to say, is our stuff aligned?
Right.
Yes. And the way that that I think about, is this a strategic question? Does this require Dr. Eldridge in this moment to go back and do an analysis, right? Or did Dr. Eldridge have to do an analysis? The answer probably in this context is no, right? Because it would be, and I like that you said too, it's like, is it a one-word answer? It probably would be, we looked at X, Y, and Z and it's aligned because blah.
Yeah.
So, and it is, Joey said, it's all contextual, right? And this is in a vacuum. So it will take reps and practice, but the one I always think about is, if I ask this question, is this gonna require a deep analysis from the administration? Or will it pretty quickly answer the question?
What is working in this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Does that help clarify for people?
Yes, because I was going with the deep analysis, and we're not making our goals, so my question would be, is the PD aligning to what we're trying to get to, which is the second grade assessment? Which is what we're using as our tool to evaluate how close we're getting to our goal. So, yeah, so that's why I'm asking. Is what we're doing to help the teachers align to that?
And you will actually know that because you will get this.
Right.
Right. That's the only thing I was going to add. I don't want to make it complicated. But if there's nothing on here that has anything to do with PD, but you're pulling that out based on your own opinion, then it is absolutely more of a tactical question. All right, what is working in this area? And what evidence do we have that it's happening? Tactical, strategic, or?
Make it strategic.
Tell me why.
Again, more than a one-word answer. Which to me is like the difference between tactical and technical. Like that's usually
That's a good point, yeah.
one-worders. But we're looking at evidence. Like where's the evidence to support that we're moving towards the goal that we're trying to get to?
Yeah. It's twice, right? It's like what's the evidence, but also to prove what? The evidence to do what?
Right. With the goal. Yeah. The learning, the goal, whatever it is we're trying to.
Correct. To see what's working, right?
Yeah.
Why is it working in this area? Love that. Any disagreements? Awesome. Am I looking at data that represents students who tested in English or Spanish or both? Technical, tactical, or Asian?
Technical.
Tell me why.
Comparison.
Say it again?
Because it's comparison.
Because it's comparison.
Yep, it's
Okay.
English or Spanish.
Right, trying to understand if it's English or Spanish. Why is that in nature a technical question, though? Trying to gain some clarity around which student groups contributed to this. Say that again?
Measurement.
Because you're trying to better understand the measurement. Incredible, interesting.
I looked up.
No, that was not luck. All right, technical question. Good job. How was growth measured?
Strategic.
How is growth measured? Technical, tactical, or strategic? Trustee Barnes?
Technical,
Technical, why?
because it's being measured.
Right. Okay, that was not a trick question. What grades does this graph include?
Technical.
Tell me why.
Because you're asking for clarity on how it was measured.
Awesome. And one of the ways that I really like, it's a simple way to think about it, is like, am I trying to better understand the data? If I'm trying to better understand the data itself, then I'm probably asking a technical question. Can you explain how this approach supports students in achieving at least one indicator and contributes to our progress towards goal 4? Technical, tactical, or strategic?
Strategic.
Strategic. Everyone in agreement? Awesome, you guys passed. That is a strategic question.
We are the GT group, you know.
Yeah, you guys are the GT group. What evidence do you have to support that it's those practices that are getting the results? Strategic, technical, or tactical?
I mean, strategic, technical?
I'm hearing technical, I heard strategic. Does anyone want to clarify that a little bit or prove their case?
Again, with an explanation, then it's
Mhm.
probably more than a technical or tactical question. But again, you're asking for evidence, you're asking for the key components that actually made such and such happen.
Yeah, does this require a deeper analysis from the superintendent to be able to explain to you why
Yeah.
these actually got the results?
Yes.
Yeah, that is a strategic question. Good job. How are we going to modify the requirements to administer the SAT to ensure that all schools provide the opportunity for any student to take the assessment? Strategic, tactical, or technical? Remember, is this how something is measured, how something is done, or deepened understanding of performance?
Technical.
I'm hearing technical from one trustee. I think Trustee Barnes whispered tactical.
Support Marjorie, it's how we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Say that one more time, Trustee
How
Sherman.
we're going to do
So then that makes this a what?
it.
Tactical, absolutely. This is very focused on like, how are we gonna get this thing done? So that is definitely a tactical question. Good job, y'all. How are we assessing our students receiving special education? How are we assessing our students receiving special education?
Technical.
Tactical.
Are we trying to understand a measurement, or are we trying to understand how something is done?
Strategic. How's that was done?
Okay. Is there consensus on that it's how something is done? Yes or no? All right, good job. I was going to say you're all wrong to mess with you guys. Yes, absolutely. That is correct. Yeah, you're not asking about the measurement at all. You're asking like, how are we testing them? Which is a very different question and very tactical. Third grade literacy growth on page 4 appears. There's no page 4 because there's only 3 pages, but anyway, page 4 appears flat for emergent bilinguals, but not economically disadvantaged students. Which, if any, of our budgeted strategies most account for that difference?
Strategic.
Technical, tactical, strategic. I heard 3 strategic.
Because as Tamara said, the superintendent's got to go back and look at that. She's going to go back and analyze that data and figure out why that's not happening.
So is that technical, because we're measuring?
Is this a question trying to understand the measurement?
No, that's trying to understand the out, like the input output. What's that thing called? I don't know, but it's strategic.
This is a great question, and I love this because you're right. The first half of it is talking about the technical aspect of the monitoring report, which is the data. But that's not what they're asking about. They're asking about what strategies most account for the difference.
So it's strategic.
It is a strategic question.
Because it would be, let's do more of that.
Right. Absolutely. Do you guys understand now that, like, and this is interesting too, because I remember when I first learned this, I was like, oh yeah, I've obviously asked these types of questions before, but I've never put them in buckets of like whether they're tactical, technical, or strategic. But you guys tell me, like, why is it important to know the difference between the 3?
So you can think about your questions. What
So
you're
you
gonna
can think
ask.
about your questions, so you can
Right.
think about what to ask, which will lead to what?
Well, we need to stay in the strategic as the board.
Right, so we need to stay in the
So you
strategic
don't
as
get in
the
the
board.
weeds and people are trying to over-explain or not explain, right?
Okay, so not to get in the weeds and not over-explain. Good, what else?
But that's our job.
To get the answer that you're seeking.
Performance management.
But that's our job. Like our job is not to worry about the little,
Yeah.
the technical and tactical pieces. That's their job. Our job is really strategic. Like how is everything supporting and aligning with each other so we can get to our student outcomes that we've set.
And I heard you, the majority saying the same thing, which is like, this is allowing us to do our jobs the best way possible. It is most appropriate and the most effective way that I can be a trustee on this board is to ask the strategic questions. And once again, we're not ever gonna tell you guys that a technical or tactical question, unless it's about the buses, is a bad question. It is just, use those questions to better understand the context so that you can get to strategic questions. If you find yourself only asking tactical questions and they never lead to strategic, like, that should be an area of growth as a board member. Just try to think about why am I asking these questions? What do I want these questions to get to? And then being able to identify those more strategic questions from there.
So I think having everything aligned with each other, like it's really gonna help us be able to focus on what we're doing, but B, ask better questions, because right now we're so scattered of like the information that we're receiving. It's all over the place, how much that really matters. So I think this is great. I think it's great that we're reining it all in.
Brady, our alignment queen.
I know, right?
That is like, that, I mean, because ultimately, why does alignment matter?
It helps our focus, first of all, and keeps us all on the same page of what matters.
What else?
We all have the same goals?
What else? What is it? What happens to a system performance when things are aligned?
You're not goal confused.
They work. Why do they work, Trustee Benavides?
Because they're in alignment with our goals. They're helping us speak the same language and reiterate that to the community.
Absolutely. And you're maximizing your resources.
There you go.
President Hatfield, I saw. So.
Okay, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
One,
Are they technical, tactical, or strategic?
I think the one strategic, and I don't know where like relationships goes in this. So the first one is when I look at like that last question, I wonder if I was somebody presenting and I was on the spot asked that question, how they would A, feel, because B, I don't know that I could just off the cuff answer a question like that. So like, what is the, so what do we do with that? And how do we get the answers we need?
How is she supposed to respond to something like that we have at the board meeting?
And the staff, because like sometimes it's her, but sometimes it's her people standing up there.
Like, would the response be, we'll have to get back to you on that? I mean, what would be the response?
So I will give you our answer and then, Dr., unless you want to go first, Dr.
No, go ahead.
We would strongly suggest that you submit your strategic questions ahead of time to help your administration with that, and then ask them in the front of the house.
Is that part of what the pre-meeting is supposed to be? Our pre-meetings are really not very useful in my opinion.
Agreed. But it's supposed to be technically about the consent agenda.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. That's all. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think
a good point.
I think, going
Yeah,
back
agree
to
with
how
the
you
point,
said post them, I think in my previous life, we gave all the technical on a summary sheet and then attached the presentation in board books so that if you read what the presentation was, you had a lot of those, like this was this, the technical part, and then here's the presentation. So they were attached on a summary sheet before the presentation so that everybody, because sometimes people don't know what to ask or they wish they would have asked it. And so my mind is that we've always tried to prepare, and then it's my job to make sure everybody understands it. Just because there's all the facts, all the technical part, and that's what Kim and I were talking about. Because when you said post it, is that what you meant? When you said you should post all these questions and that way everybody
that
knows?
is an option that y'all can decide as a team of 8. That is just, we're just bringing ideas out to y'all
Okay.
to like that you can consider. That's all y'all.
Well, I think
budget-
that
or-
just
or-
kind of sets the stage that you're answering the technical, so it sets the context of what we're talking about, but then everyone has access to it. And it's already there, so that we're not, okay, Tamara, what does, and you're going, okay, I'll have to get back to you, because I think that is the fear when people present, is that they're not gonna be able to answer all the questions.
Sure,
And I think that's the easiest way.
I think the other part of that is also twofold. One is like, this is what your experts are doing behind the scenes anyway. Like, they are doing that analysis because, I mean this very lovingly, this is not for the board, right? This is an internal process. I know that sounds weird. It is an internal process that is driving decision-making in the district, right? And now the board gets to hear about it and the community gets to hear about it. So like, these are activities that are occurring internally, right? As you look at your data and do your analysis.
But I guess my thing too is I feel like we need to, I always feel like it's a reassurance that I set them up so they understand. And no matter who reads it, they get it. Instead of spending all the time asking the questions, we already preload them in a summary.
Yes.
I don't know, that's an idea, I think.
The important part though of having strategic questions being held in a public forum is because it is important for the community to get to hear that, right? And
The strategic.
so that's, like that is I don't want to say it's a non-negotiable, because you can do whatever you want. That is a best practice.
So I think
What I'm saying is that I'm not discarding the strategic that they would ask, but I'm like more technical so that you include the details. And I guess because that's what I would want to know. If I was listening to a meeting, I would want to know, okay, what are they talking about? And it's already there. Not that anybody has to spend a lot of time on it, but it's the summary of kind of the technical pieces, maybe.
The best practice is to respond to technical and tactical questions that the board is asking the administration superintendent. The only thing I'm saying is to predict what technical questions are, or what technical answers you're going to want to produce without receiving the technical questions from your board might be a little backwards, right? And so that what I'm trying to say is you're going to deliver the progress monitoring report, you're going to send that out, and instead of trying to predict what the technical questions are going to be, just wait for them to come in. That way you're also not just like putting out together this big old summary where your board wasn't even like questioning any of that anyway to begin.
I guess you're right, but I just always anticipate like,
Right.
okay, I would want to know what did they survey? Anyway, you're right. I see both sides.
Sure, they will ask that. When you put out that report, like this board will look at it and go, hey, Dr. Rose, how many students were in the department?
It's training wheels.
Right.
I know.
We gotta get
But it
started.
also means that we ourselves, when we receive the information, have to set new timelines, submit the questions, and we also need to be analyzing what type of question it is. So that it's not just like, hey, go fish, go do the pop quiz, and figure out which questions are what.
And so I love that you brought that up because what you've also articulated is this is requiring new behaviors from every adult in this room in service of students, and it's also requiring some giving up of things, right? And so like I want to credit everybody in here because when we say this is a lot of work, it's not what is just happening in this room, right? Which has also been a lot of work. It is all the stuff that you guys are also doing behind the scenes to make this effective. And I think the last thing that I wanted to say on that question, President Hatfield, and I really appreciate that because like what is underneath of that is like I want our administration to feel supported and prepared because they work hard and we want to do that, right? And so, and Dr. E, you lifted that up as well. And I like the culture of this board that y'all get to reinforce is that if somebody comes up there and they don't know the answer, I will get that to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can't know everything all the time, but I think the thing that I do want to lift up is like your experts, as you know, are looking at that, and what you all will do over time as board members, you will incentivize your administration to analyze certain stuff. I know Trustee Brady is going to ask about the strategic alignment of whatever every single time. I mean, we all work with people, right? Do you have a general sense of what that person is going to ask you?
Yes.
Because what?
Predictable.
They do it every time, right? So that is going to help your administration prepare because they're going to get a general sense of that, and they're also going to know, right? When you ask strategic questions, they like behind the scenes they're going to go, what strategic analysis do we have to do so that we know yes, and they will then be able to take that process that they're doing right in the in central office and use all of that information and analysis to improve practices here in CFP.
And the other thing I wanted to point out is that report, if you look at it again, the example that we had, is it has a bunch of elements where it's got the technical, right, the tactical, because it's like talking about what they did to get there, right? But then ultimately it's got the strategy in terms of like, this is what we learned. This is all the stuff that happened. So that strategic piece is already in the report, right? And then the adjustments of what we're gonna do next is big strategic. So I'm only pointing that out because if the report is, meeting the requirements, more than likely it's probably like going to answer 90 to 95% of the strategic questions you probably already have. So if you ask a strategic question that like they have not considered yet, that is not a bad thing for the administration. It is not. It just means that through a great question y'all asked, they are now, we didn't actually consider that. Like now the culture is, just by asking the right question, the superintendent and her team are now able to go back and have a strategic conversation about that and pull the data to see if that's actually something worth considering.
Thanks so much, you pushed my thinking on that.
Because this is supposed to be a team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and what I've heard from every person in this room too is the acknowledgement that this is a learning process for all of us. And that means we are going to be like kind, of course. I've seen nothing but that in this room. And the other part is just figuring out how we can be supportive, which is also what I've seen in this room, right? And so we're going to learn things about how we need to be supported ourselves, support each other on the board, and support between the board and the superintendent, and that's awesome. You guys are growing together, doing great work.
And supporting each other means it's okay to ask each other. That question you asked last night, do you think that was technical, tactical, or strategic? Can we talk through how that could have been asked in advance?
Well, we've had this conversation not so long ago with a group of other coaches, and like to think about a trustee group of even duos or trios of trustees being like, hey, let's meet up.
Quorum, of course.
Right, not breaking quorum, and never, right? We would never say that. But that like, hey, let's meet up for coffee and talk about like the monitoring report so we can get our questions ready. That is like a utopia, right? So like think about like that is the best practice you could have, is spending time actually focusing on the main part of your job, which is to represent the vision and values and monitor progress towards them. So yeah, that's an awesome idea is what I'm trying to say.
Other questions, comments, concerns?
I just wonder, in January when we meet, how would the board feel about, like, after we've gone through the first one, just having time to debrief on how it went, the timing of things, and just have open dialogue about what we actually just experienced. Because we're going to do it for the first time in January versus just kind of like plowing ahead.
Well, and I think it would be nice to have like just maybe a pre-training so that we get it right. I mean, just so that we're all, maybe it's, especially with me.
You do a little mock trial.
I think so. I mean, I just, we just, I have high expectations and I don't like not to meet them.
That's and
so I don't want to go in there
We'd love to do
blind
that. I think
going,
that's-
okay, well, was that strategic? Or like, I just want to make sure that we set the stage because this is something new.
Yep.
And I think we need you guys can come practice with me.
Absolutely. And we're here.
But
I mean,
whoever
we
wants
will-
to come to the volunteer practice, but it's going to be a little time from the holiday break to, and I just think we want to set everyone up for success.
Yeah.
So that's my ask.
Great ask. And we're here for anything that y'all need. We can run those role plays. We can do it together and separate. We can do debriefs.
So we
would love to talk to every one of you individually about your questions. Like, you call us anytime, or we'll reach out to you, or whatever you want. But like, we're here to provide any support to make you feel like prepared and equipped.
Kim will get that set up.
That's the goal.
She's like,
She knows some
I've
all
done
this.
this.
Add it to my list.
Mock meetings.
All right. Well, we're at 3 hours, right?
Yes.
So team of 8. Knocked out. Ready to go. Our girls done. Ready to monitor. This has been an absolutely incredible experience, and I'm so grateful. Can we do a one-word checkout from everybody? Just how you're feeling? Tracy Gilmore. Damn was his word.
It's on the record.
Was
And then I was over.
Enlighten me.
Enlighten me.
Oh, trustee Shackman?
About time. This is my 12th team meet. Okay, and this one, we have, as a team, it's some hard work, but we are working together to move the district forward, not just kind of playing around.
Where would you say this ranks on your top 3?
This is number one.
Number ones?
Excited.
Excited.
Align.
Yes, trustee
Align.
Renee.
I knew I was gonna say that.
That's a good one. President Hatfield.
Thankful.
I was gonna say grateful, but
I think it's great.
I'm appreciative because I think it brings the whole team together. Even though it's uncomfortable.
You're not the only one.
Yes, you're not the only one. Congratulations, you guys. This is really, really incredible work, and it is like a pleasure and a privilege to watch you guys do this together. Like, this is, if an entire group of students was sitting here watching this, like, that's the leadership I want them to see. So, thank you for letting us be a part of this.
Thank you guys.
Great job.
Thank you guys so much. 9:05.
9:05.